Alright. Everything seems to be in order. We are in the green, I think? Let's make sure that everyone... Hey, we got Rebecca in here. We've got Raining Synthwave. Everybody, let me know how my voice sounds. Voice versus the game audio, okay? Yeah, Rebecca's making extensive use of those Late Night Gaming PogChamp stickers that we took because we've actually started a channel membership thing. So if you want to be able to spam those embarrassing PogChamp pictures, you can do that. Axel Animation says he was first. Indeed, Axel. Star Platinum is letting me know that voice is good. That's good. I gotta say, it's very impressive that Star Platinum, that you have the ability to type, considering that you're not exactly sentient. Oh my gosh, my phone. What's it letting me know? Alright, guys. I played a little bit of Big Team Battle earlier, and I, believe it or not, already have some thoughts. So if you guys are interested, both nitpicking stuff, both speculative concerns, as well as like genuine praise, I've got quite a lot of thoughts juggling around in my head. Where should we even start, you know? Because there's a lot that we can talk about. We can talk about the lack of Jeff Steitzer in Big Team Battle. We could talk about the lack of loadouts, or even like Warzone, the player counts. There's a lot to talk about. We are indeed gaming late at night. Yeah, we are doing that. What would I say is my favorite helmet in Infinite so far? What's that, like, the generic one called? Here, I'm gonna turn down the game audio just a smidge for me, at least. That, like, Keystone helmet, I guess what it's called on the MCC. I like that a lot. I also like the Aviator helmet quite a bit. Alright. Oh, you know what? Hang on. Let me mute the stupid voices. That is, if we're going to talk about nitpicks, I've heard my little AI buddy make the same jokes over and over again, and it's like, uh-oh. I'm already starting to see some cracks, because, so you got these AI buddies, and I get the idea behind them. It's something that you can easily sell and monetize, but also it adds a little bit of flavor, I guess, to the encounters. The problem is, it's not like a real person who can improvise, you know? You've only got to have a limited amount of voice lines. Like, your game has limited data. You can't have an AI say 500,000 things. As the years go on, people are going to get pretty tired of hearing the same jokes over and over again from their AI buddies. Oh boy. Here we go. And the problem with the AI buddy, I think, at least for now, something that I was thinking about in the car because I just went and got groceries. Okay, so Jeff Steitzer, why isn't he annoying? Well, Jeff Steitzer doesn't make jokes. The Halo 5 guy, you know, the sniper rifle on the field, the guy that I call Mr. Congested, why isn't he annoying? He doesn't make jokes either. It's... Mr. Congested is annoying sounding, but sniper rifle is indeed on the field. You know, no jokes are being made. This AI buddy, it's giving you tactical information and making jokey quips. Sometimes it makes the jokey quips before it gives you the tactical information. So it's like, yeah, I get it. I've heard this joke before. What's going on? Is a sniper rifle on the field? And yeah, today during Big Team Battle, I actually had to mute voices because it was just starting to drive me a little bit crazy, my little AI buddy. It's like, I get it, buddy. You think you're funny, but, like, you've said these jokes before. Oh, let's read the super chat. King of Farts says, really enjoyed the weapon animation review video. I'm so excited for all the videos you will make come release. Halo content is going to be insane. Yeah, Halo content's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun making content about a new game, you know. That guy was just standing there. That was kind of strange. I hope that wasn't somebody who was, like, typing. I've sometimes done that accidentally in the MCC, and I always feel bad about it. Because it's like, don't kill AFK players who are typing, you know? Let them get their thoughts out. Let's go over this way. I think the chat is frozen. Uh-oh, that's bad. If you guys are talking and saying things and I can't read it, that's very, very bad. Hang on. Let me go find a place to hide. Butler is tolerable. Oh, okay. No, things are good. Oh, we have 134 concurrent viewers. Okay. That's interesting. My headset right now is plugged in kind of weird, so I'm only getting certain sounds on the audio spectrum, and the assault rifle sounds kind of weird right now. Hang on, let me find some cover and then fix that. Oh my god, okay, the AI or the chat is rapidly catching up, so I think I just had a bit of a delay. Here we go. Yeah, wow, holy moly, you guys all just came scrolling in immediately. Okay, we're good. So, with the AI buddies, that is a concern, is like, okay, they are all kind of humorous and quippy and jokey, but they can only have a limited amount of jokes. There's also a problem that I realized, which is, what's going to happen as the years go on and these AI buddies more are added to the game? Are those audio files going to be put into the game whether you have that AI buddy or not? Will that clog up memory? You know, Call of Duty is running to that issue where a majority of that game's data are skins and cosmetics and assets and voice lines for stuff you don't even own, you know, because you didn't buy it. So it's essentially just this kind of like junk data that's clogging up your console. And Call of Duty now, I think, is starting to run into that issue of how do you handle something like that in these live service games. And so with Halo, I'm like, oh man, these AI buddies, like... Damn it. Okay. That LI Gamer Guy says, do you think we'll ever see previous game gun models of existing weapons come to Halo Infinite, such as the Combat Evolved Assault Rifle or the classic pistols, or would they just muddy up the sandbox? So cosmetic tinkering like that in a game kind of like Halo is such a weird fine line, because like in Call of Duty, the ability to modify the silhouette of your weapon, like who cares? You know, Call of Duty gunfights happen so fast that it's over before you even realize what weapon they were using against you. In Halo, though, silhouettes are an important aspect of the gameplay. So you've definitely got to balance like how far you're willing to let players customize their model. So something like the Combat Evolved Assault Rifle, that's fine, you know? It retains the assault rifle silhouette. Same with like the Halo 4 and 5. Like all the assault rifles look relatively the same, with, weirdly enough, the Reach assault rifle probably being the hardest deviation. But then if you really start getting into like letting the sidekick look like a Combat Evolved Magnum, like that's where things start to get a little bit... You definitely want it to look like the gun it's supposed to be. We talked about that actually on a previous stream, kind of like about customizing the color and shapes and stuff of vehicles, and I said you want to be careful with that, because for the sake of balancing, you do want these things to be identifiable at a distance. To us, being able to tell a Banshee, like, we got that stuff down. But to someone who's never played Halo before, could you imagine how confusing it would be if one guy was flying around in a banished Banshee, and then the other guy had, like, a Halo 2 Banshee or something that's, like, purple and kind of shaped different? They'd be like, what, are those two different aircrafts? And the same kind of goes for guns, I guess. Yoy. Let's go this way. I'd have preferred that they brought back the Halo 2 Magnum instead of adding the sidekick. So something kind of interesting about, like, that topic, I guess, is... So 343 have said that the reason that the Bulldog is called the Bulldog and the Sidekick is called the Sidekick, and that those aren't just shotgun Magnum, is because they want, basically, they want the door open for classic weapons to return in their classic roles. They don't want these to replace them. That, you know, doesn't count the fact that, hey, I don't see a classic shotgun in this game, so functionally the Bulldog has replaced it, but if that's the case, then stuff like the Halo 2 Magnum, how would that return in a game that doesn't have dual wielding? Same with, like, the Halo 3 Magnum. Or just for the sake of, like, discussion, if the Halo Magnum was to return, which version of it would return? Oh boy, I'm being grapple-jacked. Yikes! There we go. That was fair. I disagree with Late Night's point. Most silhouettes from the games will be easily identifiable no matter what iteration they are. Depends. Which point do you disagree with? Because I'd argue not just the shape, but the entire color of an aerial vehicle. That could be a little bit confusing for a potential new fan. Remember, we're speaking as Halo fans. We know what a Banshee looks like, but to somebody who has never played Halo before and doesn't even know what a Covenant is, that might be a little bit confusing. They might think that there's more aerial crafts in this game than there are, you know? If you're talking about weapons, then that's, like, completely different. That's probably why, honestly, they're starting out with just UNSC vehicles to customize the coatings of, like, the Warthog and stuff like that, because that's just, like, a skin on a very human-looking gun. The more alien-y vehicles that don't look like they were made, like the Banshee right there. There it goes. I'd personally like if, instead of, like, coming back as coatings, or I guess, like, weapon cores, like some people are speculating, if some of those weapons properly did come back as, like, themselves. Like, let's bring back the Combat Evolved Assault Rifle. You know, 60-round mag and everything. You know, even the same, like, range. Like, I think it would be super interesting if Halo Infinite brought back, like, regardless of if they're balanced or not in Halo Infinite's combat rhythm, could you imagine how cool it would be to have, like, those weapons back, and they perform exactly as they did in those past games, which means you could theoretically recreate past combat loops in custom games. You could forge a Halo Combat Evolved map and just place Halo Combat Evolved weapons on it in Halo Infinite. How does Big Team Battle feel? I haven't got the chance to play the beta yet, and I want to know if it feels different and weird like some betas feel like. So it's definitely, you know, it's janky. It's definitely unfinished. This is a technical test. Big Team Battle, in terms of the flow, it's a little bit interesting. It's not what I would call Big Team Battle, like the traditional Big Team Battle. Big Team Battle almost reminded me of, like, water gun fights when you're a kid. You know, as an example, so my buddies and I, what we'd sometimes do is we had like construction ladders because my grandpa and my dad were all over the house when we were kids, like doing various construction projects. So we had a lot of like ladders. What we would do is we'd haul a lot of those ladders out to the backyard or the front yard, and then we'd get a ton of cardboard, and we'd essentially make fortresses for each team, and we'd have our bikes and stuff like that, and we'd launch raids on each other's bases. That's kind of what Big Team Battle is for me. This feels a little bit different than that. Like, I think of kind of starting on Valhalla. Like, all right, somebody's going to get in the Banshee. Who wants to hop onto the Wraith? All right, you guys take the Warthog. It's not like that. It feels almost like they're trying to take, like, that war zone. Hey, everything is on every map at any given time, but control that a little bit. Like, don't let the players just spawn with whatever they want. Kind of bring in those tools of destruction and have the players fight over them. It's essentially like, take like the AI spawning. Remember the AI in Warzone, how they'd like come in the drop ships? It's that, but instead of AI dropping in, it's like Sandbox items. So like the loot cave up there. It's an event type thing, and as a reward, you get a ton of like weapons for you to use. The Pelicans will come in and they will drop in like Banshees or Ghosts or something, and you secure those, and then you get a couple kills, and then you probably get shot out of the sky. And with that, it's interesting because it's a different combat rhythm, but there are also some potential problems that I could see arise. So immediately off, by the end of the 2-hour play session earlier, I had identified an issue, which is it's not very organic. It doesn't feel like vehicles and stuff like that are meaningful tools in the sandbox, if that makes sense. They feel more almost like kill streak rewards, where it's like, so, okay, in Valhalla, as an example, the Scorpion was this, like, oppressive thing that you could use to try to, like, lock down enemy spawns and, like, you know, cover for your team who runs in and goes and captures the flag. The Wraiths were more or less there so that you could launch mortars over the hill, which you don't have a good line of sight through, and hope that maybe that's enough suppressive mortar fire that it'll, you know, cover your team's advance and stuff. No. In this game, Wraiths and Scorpions and stuff, those are rewards for being a good boy. Now get inside and get some killing sprees. They're dropped relatively in the center of the map. So, like, you know, the drop zone's already hot. You're already under fire. So you just get as many kills as you can before your vehicle is doomed. And it's not very tactical. There isn't a lot of tactical use behind the vehicles. Look, see? A Ghost is dropping right in the middle there. Someone's going to get in it. We're all going to start shooting him. Okay, I guess that guy just got the Ghost. And to be fair, sometimes that happens too. But it's just a little bit less controlled, I guess. Like, the vehicles aren't a very tactical or meaningful part of the sandbox, which is kind of, you know, it's different. I'm not sure if I like it, though, because it's different. Wolf. You also get a lot of that stuff that I noticed. You know, the enemy flag right there. People are too busy fighting over, like, these Pelican drops, trying to hack through these, like, doors and stuff like that. They're just off doing their own thing, you know? Oh, boy. People are hunting for loot that they can then use to go on killing sprees with. But can it still be fun? Oh, I've had plenty of fun. The problem is, like, as fun as this is, I did get bored playing it after a while. And there wasn't the normal big team battle for me to get into, you know? It's like, okay, that was some fun, mindless, like, shenanigans. All right, let's play some real big team battle, you know, where there's weapon spawns and vehicles at bases and stuff like that. I think of, you know the Banshee on Sandtrap, how it's, like, dead set in the middle of, the map? And it's like, everybody tries to run for the Banshee. And then there's also that Spartan laser that people also run for, because if the enemy team captures the Banshee, like, that's bad news. And you want the laser so that you can take them out. That poor guy. You should have countered the overshield, bro. I have more stats than you. You should have countered that. Okay, there we go. We're doing pretty good right now. But yeah, basically, because of the randomization of everything, I found that there's no real driving force behind the matches. It's just, well, chaos. Oh, there happens to be a ghost there. Okay, I'll use it. And then when the game launches, I assume there's going to be a lot more vehicles that are dropping. So the randomization of it, your brain really does stop kind of looking for patterns, because it's like, it doesn't really matter. There's no... There we go. Yeah! Did you see that stick? It is fun, but it is very chaotic and kind of random, and I don't know for how long the randomness can sustain my interest, because after a while it's like, I do kind of wish that there were strategies that could form, you know? All right, guys, we're caught in a spawn trap. Oh, our base just got a scorpion. All right, team, load up. We're punching through this spawn block. You don't really have stuff like that, you know? Your base just gets a warthog and a mongoose. The scorpion's the gun that you get, or the vehicle that you get killing sprees with. There we go. People are talking about milk. Can I ask why? Did I miss something? Oh boy. Definitely needs more vehicle gameplay. Not just vehicle gameplay, the vehicles need to be, like, meaningful. It's one thing to have meaningful vehicle gameplay, but it's another thing to have vehicle gameplay where it feels like an organic part of the sandbox, and it doesn't feel like just get in this thing and go on killing sprees. You'll be good. That's why I kind of liked that idea of each base kind of getting their own heavy vehicle, you know? That was a tactical option from the spawn. And the awesome thing is if that tactical option is too overpowered, hop into the forge tool, get rid of that vehicle, replace it with a different one. And I see some people talk about, I saw the developers actually talk about, they were like, we didn't want a situation like Valhalla in Halo 3 where sometimes the Scorpion on that map dominated a little bit too much. And I'm sitting here thinking, we'll just get rid of the Scorpion. You know, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, and it's like, oh, now we have this pelican drop system, and it's completely random, and, like, you get in, it's this big event in a war. It's like, just don't have the Scorpion there, you know? I'm still trying to figure out the, like, optimal range of this thing. Because it does have some drop, as well as travel time, so that takes a little getting used to. Imagine if stasis from Destiny 2 was an infinite. Oh, God. We don't want that. Oh boy. The door was beautiful, and I want more doors like that. Yeah, it's really cool seeing like these. I don't want to say iconic because like a door, but like we know that door, you know? I've seen that door before, and it's cool seeing it back. Here, let's kill whoever tries to go for that ghost. Yeah. Okay. We are. Okay, I was gonna say we are leaving. What's the point of those pillars? Like those ones? It seems to be more or less just like artistic flair to kind of break up. Because could you imagine if it was just rocks? Like, granted, the pillars aren't like the most revolutionary artistic thing on planet Earth, but could you imagine if it was just rocks, you know? It's small, but it's a little bit of variety. Let's grab this thing. Raining Synthwave says, I guess you could say it's adorable. Hey, that's a pretty good one. That's actually a really good joke. Yeah, the Forerunner door, it's really cool seeing that. I remember in Halo 4, there's this point where you come up to a Forerunner door, and like it opens for you and stuff, and there was a weird amount of importance in it. Like, not importance as in, like, this door is important to the story, but, like, the way that the door was presented to the player. It's like this long hallway, you know, and the door's at the end of it, and there's a light above it. It's supposed to be, like, this moment of, like, like, here we are, because the last Halo game with Forerunners as a main plot point was Halo 3. You know, we had then ODST and Reach, so it's like, the magic of the... But I didn't recognize the door. Like, what is this? There's, like, floating bits everywhere and stuff, and so in replaying Halo 4 recently, I noticed that. I was like, I think that was supposed to be, like, a reintroduction to the Forerunners. Like, hey, remember Forerunner doors? But it kind of fell flat for me because, well, I don't recognize this thing. Dysfunction.exe says Milk Gaming. There's no Jeff Steitzer in Big Team Battle. Seems terrible to me, like they're forcing Palmer on us. Okay, let's talk about the new Spartan Commander. I assume what 343 wants to do with the Spartan Commander is they want Big Team Battle to have a bit of, like, narrative context behind it. And they want, like, almost, like, kind of onboarding for potential new Halo fans. That guy got the Killing Spree vehicle. Okay, we're moving. The Spartan... So, you live in this, like, day and age where, like, kids don't want to play story. Like, I saw one guy on Twitter a very long time ago. It was something so stupid that it made my head hurt and it put me in a bad mood. It was clearly like a kid or whatever, but he said, nobody plays BioShock, it's a dead game. And he posted BioShock streams on Twitch, and it was just like the most bizarrely stupid argument for why, like, Call of Duty whatever is better than BioShock. The idea of a narrative game with a conclusion that you don't need to play because you beat it, the idea of that being a dead game is just like, what? But going back to the Big Team Battle thing is, okay, so we've got a bunch of kids who are going to be playing Halo for the first time. Big Team Battle is kind of like a a vehicle into the narrative of Halo. Like, okay, you're a Spartan, you're training to be a Spartan, you got this Spartan commander and stuff. Like, there's lots of narrative context. There's pelicans dropping things off, and lots of Halo-y-ness. And then kids think, okay, well, what are they training for? Well, that's when you get into the campaign. The problem with, like, the Spartan commander, I think, like, okay, Jeff Steitzer is too video gamey. Like, this is supposed to onboard potential new fans for the story, but you've also got old fans that are playing Big Team Battle, and what they're immediately going to notice is that, and this is irregardless of, like, that Spartan commander. I'm sure she's very nice. The problem is she has overthrown and taken over the role of something that we really liked. And so it doesn't matter what her intentions are or how well executed she is. Like, the voice actress sounds really good. She's immediately, off the bat, coming from, like, a negative place. Like, hi, I am here. I'm your new announcer. If you don't like me tough, the old guy is gone. And that's the problem with her introduction. Robbie says that he can't play because of his 9 set. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. The specs aren't up to snuff for the Big Team Battle flight. If it helps you feel any better, there's a lot of performance issues in this flight. Some very weird ones. Also, my dude using irregardless. Oh, did I say irregardless? I need to get that non-word out of my vocabulary. But yeah, it's essentially like this Spartan commander, she's fine. It's the implementation of her that's wrong. It immediately puts fans on the defensive because she is she's replacing something that we really liked. I really like hearing the Halo announcer, you know, double kill and stuff like that. It's fun. And so to hear this fine person, the nice lady on the microphone, just say, "Good kill, Spartan." It's like, that's not going to stick with me like double kill will, you know? Why are you hating on someone you have never met yet? The fictional character? Because I'm never going to meet her. She's fictional. Yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on the Spartan commander. She's fine. The implementation is wrong. Especially so because she's replacing something that we already really like. Like, I don't think it would hurt Big Team Battle to have Jeff Steitzer. I don't think it would hurt to have Jeff Steitzer voicing the medals. The problem of the commander actually raises a bigger issue that I have in general with, like, voice stuff. It's entirely possible that Jeff Steitzer isn't in this mode because there's already 3 different places that tactical information is coming from. You've got the Spartan commander, you've got your AI buddy, and then you've got the Spartan chatter. And that's kind of a greater issue that I have, which is, you know, you got your Spartan chatter, which sometimes can be helpful, but a lot of the time it's did some damage, where it's like, thanks, guy, you know, that helped a lot. And then you've got, you know, your AI buddy saying stuff like power weapons on the field or up, and away when you use the grappling hook. And it's like, thanks, AI buddy. Thank you. It's very confusing, the tactical information. You know, that AI buddy, I actually don't think he'd be nearly as annoying if it was like, all right, pick one. Are you going to tell me jokes or give me tactical information? Because when that thing talks, I want to be able to listen to it. And when it's interrupting the audio spectrum so that it can say up, and away when I use a grappling hook, it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, you know? And you just mute it. It's just an announcer. It does not affect the game. I'd argue, so on that topic, here, let's take a look at this. This room, right? These Forerunner designs. It's just cosmetic, doesn't affect the game. Well, I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed right now with nostalgia. Strong presentation can go a long way in making a game feel good. The monk chant at the main menu. It's just a song, doesn't affect game. Like, I don't think that's very strong, you know? So saying, it's just an announcer, doesn't affect the game. That announcer means a lot to some people, you know? It may not affect your game, but it does affect some people's games, and I think that that is valid. Here, let's run this way. A video game is a very complicated mixture of things, both audio and visual, and, you know, bring them all together with the mechanics, and boom, there you go. That's how you get a good game. So to disregard part of the game as, doesn't matter, I'm like, no, I think all parts of the game matter. Proaxel says, did some damage can be helpful if you can't find enemies, that you know that your teammate just found one. Did some damage, from what I understand, is when your Spartan kills somebody. So essentially what you just heard is your Spartan saying, I killed a guy. And it's like, wouldn't it be more tactical if he said spotted a red, you know, or spotted a blue, instead of did some damage after they beat that enemy Spartan to a pulp? You know, and ultimately, like, it's okay, you can have that kind of superfluous dialogue. You know, Call of Duty does it, where you have, like, the soldiers screaming at each other. Like, it's there basically so that everyone isn't, like, running around quietly. But I do think that there needs to be a line drawn. So, like, Jeff Steitzer, the announcer, that's the guy that doesn't joke. He provides you tactical information. The AI buddy, he sometimes provides tactical information, but a lot of the times just says, like, these jokes. So after a while, you start to tune out that voice. Hey, we got somebody who just joined as a member. Johnny Jitsu says, ignore these naysayers. Replacing Jeff is heresy. Nah. We don't want to ignore naysayers, because I think I've said it before. If I were to exclusively design a game, I think it would be one of the worst games ever made. Because you do kind of need to balance out some opinions with different opinions. So, like, for the naysayers and stuff like that, it's important to listen to them. But it's also important for those naysayers to listen to their Okay, this whole thing is starting to, like, fall apart. But hopefully I am making sense. You know what I kind of wish the Commando was like? So, I saw some pros talking about, like, Bloom and stuff like that. I actually don't have an issue with Bloom. I think Bloom is a tool. It can be good or bad, depending on its implementation. I don't think the concept is inherently bad. But in the case of the Commando, something I'd maybe try doing is maybe instead of having it have Bloom, just have the Bloom when you're hip firing, and when you scope in like this, the weapon switches to semi-auto mode. You know? Johnny Jitsu says you're too diplomatic. I guess it's not about... Nah, it is kind of diplomatic, isn't it? Oh, no! Because ultimately, there are some people that do like that Spartan commander, and they do think it's, like, fun that they're taking part in this battle in the Halo universe. You know? Like, look at that. You can see the glow from a beam emitter off in the distance, and then you get the pelican dropping in the ghost. Like, all of this production value matters to some people. That's why I'm not actually saying, like, get rid of it. You know, Spartan Commander, get rid of it. Hater. AI buddies, hate them. Get rid of them, you know. It's like, because some people do, I guess I'm trying to think of, like, okay, how can the strengths of the old way be combined with the strengths of the new way? You've got your production value of the new big team battle, but then you've got that kind of, like, the tactical, like, two teams of kids in their cardboard fort waging war against each other. That kind of, like, fantasy. How can we merge these? Oh my god, look how many people there are. ArmV just donated $5. Dude, I appreciate that. Sown Grunts Soundscape donated 20 pounds, I think that is, who says, loved your animation review. Keep up the great work, mate. Diplomacy is very important. A game is for everyone, not just for the individual. Yeah. And if not for anybody, then at least as many people as possible. Oh boy. I think scoping actually does give you away now, regardless of weapon. Because I did see, like, some folks with, like, ARs scoping in, and I could see a little glint. Here, I'll help this guy defend this door while it hacks. Yeah, but that's really cool. We actually got a new member. So, okay. Rebecca helped me out with this. We were like, memberships, you know, for the channel. Should we? And there was a lot of thought because we were like, we can't, like, lock off stuff, you know, like, that's stupid. Like, I don't want to do exclusive stuff. And I don't want people to feel like they're being bullied into joining. And Rebecca made these awesome emotes, and we kind of came up with the idea of, like, what if, okay, if you join the channel, let's keep it at $5 a month, because that's reasonable. We don't need, like, these crazy tiers and stuff, and we, like, basically, if you want to support the channel, you can do it. And as a reward, I kind of do these exclusive posts where I ask for advice on videos. Rebecca even offered, like, taking funny behind-the-scenes pictures and stuff like that. Like, basically stuff that won't lock off content from people. And on top of it, they get some funny emotes to spam in the chat, like Rebecca is right there with Craig. R says he likes it when they talk. It gives them more character, and I care for them more. See, so for R, the Spartan announcer and the little AI buddy, that gives, like, a little bit of, like, context to the multiplayer. Because classic multiplayer, where you just have Jeff Steitzer, the voice of God, it's this gamey thing, you know? It's this weird voice that descends from the heaven to say, 5 minutes remaining. It's like, who said that? You know, like, you're, like, looking up, like, what the... Here, though, there's at least context. That announcer is coming from a Spartan commander. You kind of get that vibe that you're training. Look, see, there I am. I've got my buddies here. Our Spartan commander is going to send us through the ringer. And then we're going to deploy to the field to go hunt some monkeys. That's the kind of value that people like R get from their AI buddies and their Spartan commanders and stuff. You know, they get a little bit of that Halo fantasy. What is that? Oh my god. That's a Sentinel. That's really cool. Look, it's like bronze. That's cool. It's also like a proper Sentinel. Halo 4 redesigned the Sentinels to kind of fit with that, like, techno-organic-y Promethean look. So that kind of took me by surprise. It's not just a Sentinel. It's not even the Halo 4 one. It's like a proper classic Sentinel. That's cool. Oh, people are reminding me to hydrate. I could hydrate. I probably should hydrate, actually. Oh, no. Here, we're going to scope up here. I'm gonna mess this up. I'm gonna lose the sniper. Halo Infinite Sniper is really cool. I think I've landed a headshot with it. I have landed no scopes. I've landed many body then headshots. It's very hard to use, and that's why I really like the Halo Infinite sniper. Like that right there, that shot, even though I didn't kill the guy, I can't believe I landed that. This sniper's really hard to use, and I landed that shot. Johnny Jitsu says, I totally understand the desire for immersion. I just get flashbacks to the Halo 4 and 5 aimless Spartan chatter from Spartan Ops. Keep Jeff as an option. Yeah, so this is actually a place where the little AI buddies, I think, are a valuable tool. So, okay, the Spartan commander for big team battle. Okay, got it. We've got this grounding narrative of this being some kind of, like, basically Spartan paintball. That's what we're doing right here, you know? All those Spartans that are dying, don't worry, these are fake bullets. They'll be fine. My Spartan's pretending to be dead right there. Don't worry, he's fine. Look, he's going to be back in a second. But that little AI buddy, what if they sold like a Jeff Steitzer AI buddy? You know, because the game's also going to be free to play. And you know what? If the game wants to sell me things, I'd spend money on a Jeff Steitzer AI buddy. Sohn Grunt's Soundscape says, I think the AI companions are a good idea conceptually. I don't personally enjoy their constant comments all that much, but I think the idea is great. Something that could also work is, so it would probably take a little bit of, like, development time, because I assume this is stuff like 343 hasn't considered, you know? Like, kind of in a bubble, they're just thinking, like, oh, it's fun. It's like you got your own little Cortana, but in multiplayer. And then they release this to the community, and the community's like, oh my god, stop talking, stop talking. Something that would be cool is if 343 developed a system where we could skew our AI's personality to bias certain bits of verbal feedback. So if you wanted, you could basically set the toggle to humor exclusively. So the Spartan, or the AI buddy, is almost never serious. It's always a quip or a joke. Or you could bias it exclusively to tactical lines. Look at the little AI buddy. See, they're kind of cute. Do you see him just ditch the plasma pistol? Here, you know what? We're going to take it. I like you, plasma pistol. Don't worry. It's okay. Ignore him. He just doesn't appreciate you. Oh boy. I think I made a mistake picking up the plasma pistol. Okay. So it Chobits, basically, Rebecca says. Yes, exactly. And even speaking of Chobits, something that's kind of nice about this, like, little AI buddy system where you got your own little personal Cortana that you fight with online that's, like, quipping, joking, and stuff is there's a lot of room for different personalities to be introduced. So if the personalities are a little bit annoying to you, oh man, you know, if 343 wanted to get stupid, but definitely, like, guaranteed money, they could sell, like, a little anime girl AI buddy. That is such a bad idea, but you know people would buy that. Oh boy. Let's get out of... Okay. Sohn Grunt's Soundscape says, I feel like some of the AI buddies are more tactical than others. I feel that toggle could be which personality you pick, you know? Yeah. Well, because, okay, so as, like, an audio designer, I assume that 343... Here, you know what? I just noticed the game did something that's kind of annoying. Assisted steering, auto clamber, step jump, turning that off. Sometimes the game will assume the elevation that you're jumping at for you, and it'll, like, lessen your jump height. That's great for accessibility stuff, but Go into settings and turn that off if you want full control of your character, because the game will try to modify the jump height for you. Oh boy. Angry goo gun! Let's fire it at him. I just messed up that whole encounter. Watch, I'm gonna lose this. There we go. Chose Law says, Jeff Steitzer should be the Spartan commander in game. An old Spartan 1 or 2 training a new generation. I do agree with you. But I also, I could also see it as like, okay, so here's a theory that I have, all right? Hear me out, all right? Halo Infinite is a live service game, right? And there's going to be like multiple seasons and stuff like that in Battle Pass. What the hell? Oops. Can I blow that up? No. What is this? What is that? Is that a candy bar? Oh, it's a granola bar. It's 100 calories. It's a pen. Oh my god, you can see the red tip. That's a red tip pen. Who modeled this? What the fuck? What? Look, there's like bits of food still in that. It's sardines. Pills? Are those like vitamin pills? They look like a What is this? Oh my god, look at those boots. I completely lost my train of thought. I am so sorry. What were we talking about? It's just like, okay, the reason that caught me by surprise is stuff like that is usually astonishingly low detail, because, like, who cares? Not only is this unusually high detail, they're physics objects! Usually this stuff is locked down in the environment. You know, like, if that was a Call of Duty map, that stuff would be basically bolted to the floor. You wouldn't be able to move it. And if it was a physics object, it would be very low quality, because who cares? It's supposed to be pushed around the environment. I have no idea what we were talking about. I feel like I was about to make a point, but then I got distracted by the ballpoint pen. We're lost in this Forerunner structure. What is this? An overshield? Okay. Yeah, I'll take the overshield. Man. The Forerunners knew how to do it, you know? I say that, but, like, could you imagine... Okay, so this looks beautiful to us, because we're Halo fans, right? Could you imagine, though, how boring it would be to live in a society that designed all of its architecture like this? Like, we're going to Space IKEA to get a table. What color would you like it in? Bronze or silver? It's like, can I just have a wood one? By wood, do you mean metal? Oh boy. Let's go monkey mode. Oh, whoops. Here's my failed harpoon. It's just gonna stay there reminding me of how I just messed up that shot. Let's go over here. Let's grab this. I refuse to put this plasma pistol down, you know? Everyone's making fun of you online, little buddy. Okay. It may have missed that shot, but it tried. 343 forcing their workers to stay up till 3 a.m. to fully model a red gel pen with a KitchenAid K405 speed blender. That's pretty funny. Usually, from what I understand, like, stuff like that, like pens and stuff like that. For some modelers, it's almost like part of the interview process is like you make a bunch of like environmental objects and you bring that with you. And sometimes they end up in the game because it's like, bro, you didn't have to go that hard. This was just an interview. That's a good looking pen. Throw it in the game. Oh boy, let's go this way. Oh man, this is bad. Let's go over this way. Damn it. I was about to break out into song. Did you hear me? I was so scared. Plasma pistol. From 2021 to 2021, it tried. It did try. Did you see the plasma trail leave it? It was like, I'm gonna get that guy. I sure am gonna hit that guy. And I mean, it completely missed, but it was enthusiastic about the way that it missed. See, the plasma pistol, I actually don't mind it having weak tracking, because I don't want a situation like Halo 5, where the plasma pistol, holy crap, yeah. But when so Halo 3 had the plasma pistol get this like really weak, kind of useless tracking, but that was kind of balanced out by the fact that it had more uses. It was, okay, we can EMP shields, right? What if it's not just shields? What if it's just this multi-purpose EMP device that can fry electronics of any kind? Spartan shields or not. Well, now the fact that it can't track is a little bit easier to deal with. We got that stupid wasp up there. I actually got into a wasp earlier today, and the first thing I thought while I was flying around with this thing is, man, I miss the Falcon. Plasma pistol kind of fat. That plasma pistol do have curves. Oh boy! I'm like right now in my brain, I'm like, okay, we've got this. This is something that I appreciate about 343 is they seem really like set on this idea of damage types. So you got kinetic, which is like this. Not that great against shields, but really good against unshielded targets. Got it. I like that. Then you got plasma, which can't really kill people very well, but it can shred shields. Like that as well. Then you've got static, or arc, or whatever they're calling it, and it seems to be purely around the idea of like EMPing electronics and stuff. That's a cool idea. I like that. I think maybe a little bit restrictive, like as a system. Because, like, okay, what would you call the needler? Plasma? I wouldn't. Kinetic? I wouldn't call the needler a kinetic weapon. Will the Mantis be in the game? Asks R. I don't think the Mantis is in the game. Otherwise, it would have probably been data mined, you know? Oof. I'd imagine that the Mantis is probably gone, in my opinion, for good reason. And it's not just, like, Halo 4 bad. So if you guys want, I can, without hyperbole, because I've said before I don't like the Mantis, and I usually have jokes with it. If you want, we can turn off the hyperbole for a second, and I can explain my thought process to you as to why I don't like the Mantis. So, like, in my opinion, the Mantis, what I don't like about it is... So, in my mind, there needs to be a hard separation in technology between the Covenant and the UNSC. Sown Grunt Soundscape says, how do you feel about not being able to see your legs in-game anymore? Oh, you can still see your legs. You just have to set your FOV to 78. Beyond that, they delete your legs because they kind of look a little bit goofy. So the Mantis, what I don't like about it is it's too technologically advanced for the UNSC, at least in a mainline game. Like, for the lore, obviously, you've got all sorts of crazy stuff. But for the sake of game preservation, I think it's important that the UNSC comes across as kind of, like, modern. I mean, obviously, they gotta have spaceships and stuff so they can get to the alien planets. But when they're on those alien planets, I think it's important that they have, like... well, kind of like space versions of everyday Earth vehicles. You got Jeeps, you've got tanks and stuff like that. Even the Pelican, like the idea of a drop ship, it's kind of like, it's a bit of a stretch, but like it's okay, because it does, you could easily just insert a helicopter. You know, like a Hind or something, dropping off troops. With the Covenant, it's important that they come across as super alien and stuff like that. So walkers, hovercrafts, and stuff like that. That I reserve for the aliens. So what I don't like about the Mantis is it's like, whoa. Like, even the Covenant don't have bipedal walkers that are stomping around. Like, that seems almost like that should have been a thing that the Covenant have instead of you. You know? It's a little bit too science fiction-y and technologically advanced for something I'd give the UNSC. The idea of a bipedal walker I'd instead give to the Covenant. But even then, I don't think, like, the Mantis mechanically is that interesting. Because for the sake of gameplay, I like to give all the UNSC, not really that lethal, but multi-purpose, like, multi-man vehicles and stuff. I mean, with the exception of, like, the tank. But, like, stuff like the Warthog, the Mongoose. Because the idea is, you're going to be playing a campaign, right? You're going to be playing a campaign co-op. Sometimes there's going to be AIs and stuff. You want a vehicle that you can load people up into and kind of requires a whole crew to operate. Just as a default. And then, well, the AI for, you know, the Covenant and stuff like that, yeah, whatever, just give them a ghost, like it's a one-man thing, you know? Bornstellar says, complaining about the Forerunner ring architecture is like a alien walking into a U.S. supercarrier and complaining about architecture. Yeah, I guess it kind of is. He did make up a good point that, like, to be fair, like, these rings aren't exactly, like, habitats where the Forerunners lived, you know? I do like to imagine that the Forerunners were just, like, it's like the future from SpongeBob, you know, where everything is chrome because it's the future. Oh, boy. Do I like the 117 theme from Halo 4? I like chunks of the 117 theme. I think 117 builds up excellently, and then I think the bum 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 bum, that's a solid melody. But then it kind of does like the Halo 4 thing, where once it finds that solid melody, it's like too anxious to just let it breathe, so it very quickly moves on from it to bum 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 bum, and it's just like, okay, we've kind of lost the plot. They're doing music theory shenanigans. It's a problem that a lot of Halo 4's tracks have. I think of kind of, you know, under cover of night, we all can hear that kind of vocal synth. We can all hear that in our head, or the Warthog run, ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba, like, we all know that. Halo 4, whenever it finds those kind of, like, that could potentially be an iconic melody, it doesn't let it last. It's almost, like, scared to just let cool melodies play for extended periods of time, because it wants to do a music theory and move on to more complicated things. It's like, you're a video game soundtrack. Come on, give us some nice tunes. Sam Lund says, really enjoying the new Big Team Battle mode, and I see you already found some little map secrets. Have you seen the Gold Sentinel Corpse, like the ones from Halo 2? We did actually see the Gold Sentinel Corpse earlier. It was really cool, actually. Are you playing on PC or Xbox currently? Oh, PC. I do not have an Expert Box Series X, XX420X, whatever Microsoft calls that thing. I just have the Xbox One X. And I don't really feel like playing Halo Infinite at 30 FPS with bad frame pacing issues. Because apparently the last gen consoles are having some frame pacing issues. Though it does apparently run at, it does have like an unlocked mode or like a 60 FPS mode, but that would require me dragging the Xbox up to the computer, plugging it in, and getting ready to stream, and I'm like, nah, I'll just do it on the PC. It's just easier. Damonite says, so in conclusion, it should be longer. Yeah, 117 needs to be longer. Like, when it establishes that really cool melody, the bum, 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 like, that gets stuck in your head. And less than 20 seconds later, it's moved on to something else, and we never hear that melody again. It doesn't, the song doesn't let itself breathe that much in the gameplay. And then, ironically, there's actually another song in Halo 4 that I think has the exact opposite problem, where I think it's so repetitive. It's that Arrival song that people like. I actually don't like that song that much. I think it's so obnoxious to listen to. Granted, I also don't think Arrival was well implemented into the game. Because it's like, it's this bum-bum-bum-bum-bum, and you're just like running around hallways. And God forbid if you're playing on Legendary and you get stuck in a firefight and you're listening to bum-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum, like over and over and over again, you know? Those like crazy heroic songs, just so that they don't make your ears bleed, you know, and they get really repetitive. You want to put them almost like in a situation where the player is kind of guaranteed to win, like a Warthog run or something, where it's like, the only real danger is if you're unable to drive. Remember how Halo 5 put The Trials, which was like that kind of like Hollywoodified version of the Warthog run theme, in combat encounters where you're like hiding behind cover? And it's just like the worst version of the Halo theme, loudly playing, and you're just like huddling behind cover, and you're like, what? What? What's going on? R says there are some bad Bungie music too. I'm not saying that there's bad 343 music. I don't think that was ever... I don't think that was ever the thing that we were talking about. We were talking about two specific songs, right? Here, let's run this way. So we're getting out of here. Okay. Or dying. Yeah, I think Bungie paced the music the best in Halo CE to 3, says Angry Wizard. I don't think it's really about, like, Bungie specifically, the developers. I think it's more like, so Marty O'Donnell is crazy. He's got an ego that is so big he has to carry it around in a wagon behind him wherever he goes. But for the sake of really excellent music in games, like the music that people think is like iconic, I almost think you need a bit of that like insane out of control ego. Like just throw him into a room and lock the door and give him a pizza, and then let him create this crazy song, and, like, if he says to put it in this part of the level designers, by God, do it. Oh, if we want to talk about, okay, we want to talk about bad Bungie music, let's talk about Ubastank in Halo 2, which I think it was. Was it? Or is Ubastank the guys who made that song for Sonic Forces? The song that plays when you get into the Banshee in Halo 2, when you're following the Heretic, and it's like, it's like, what? Like, excuse me? Or when Breaking Benjamin starts playing. Those are parts where I'm like, yes, I get that it's cool music, but oh, holy moly, this is very weird, guys. It's that early 2000s cheeseball stuff where it's like, hey, Master Chief is punching brutes to Linkin Park or whatever. Uh-oh. We got the bot. Aw, Rebecca was quick on the draw with that bot. That was Incubus. Did I see Ubastank? Oh boy. Oh, did you see that last shot? That was pretty cool. I'll take your battle rifle. The music is great. You need better taste. It's okay. When I made that bold declaration that I wasn't a fan of Halo 2's use of real-world songs. You know what's kind of interesting about that? It's kind of weird that that Breaking Benjamin made that song for Halo 2. Like, it didn't exist before. They made it for Halo 2. And then after the fact, like years later, they re-released it, edited slightly, but still called it the same thing, so that now when you look it up online, it looks like just, you know, their original song and not like the song from the video game. So there's almost like this part of me that's like, were they embarrassed by that? That like one of their best songs was known as being a video game song? I hope not. Hey, counter me! Counter me, guy! I have better stats than you! You should have countered me. Whenever people say you need to get the overshield, learn how to counter it. I'm like, how? You have better stats than the other person now. Born Stellar says, Halo 3 ODST, best music and atmosphere, and probably my favorite game of the series. The money I would give for another ODST game. Yeah! Like, I think, so Halo Combat Evolved was Salvatore and O'Donnell's first kind of foray into, like, you know, proper video game music. I shouldn't say that, because myth, you know, myth. As well as Oni, but that was, like, proper, like, production value, like, trying to, like, have the music be, like, this thing that people take extremely seriously. And then with Halo 2, you've got them going even crazier, like to the point that they're getting like real-life bands and stuff like that. They're getting like celebrities to be in the game. And then with Halo 3, I believe that's when C. Paul Johnson came on. I forgot if C. Paul Johnson was actually responsible for like the piano, the bum-ba-bum-bum-bum. That might have been C. Paul Johnson who was responsible for that. Or I forgot who the music producer was. I think he came on at the end of Halo 2. But it's like, as the series went on, like, that group of individuals got, like, better and better at, like, timing the music with the rhythms of gameplay. To the point that you do get something kind of like, go away! Okay. Like ODST, where it's just this, like, masterfully paced musical experience. Oh, somebody in the comment is clarifying what happened with Breaking Benjamin. I'm going to read that. That's interesting. Oh, they did the song for free. Interesting. Sown Grunts Soundscape says, I'm off to bed. Have a great evening and enjoy Big Team Battle. Keep up the great content. Thank you so much, Sown Grunts Soundscape. I plan to do that, all right? I hope you have a good sleep, bud. I still think probably Halo 3 or ODST were probably Bungie's music department, their best work. Because I don't want to compliment just Marty O'Donnell. He was crazy and out of control, and he had a huge ego. And he was, because of that ego, he was partially responsible for how good the music implementation in those games were. But it was a collaboration. Billy Myers gives me 99 cents. I appreciate that, Billy Myers. In fact, something that I'm really excited about with Halo Infinite is that there's a variety of artists that are doing the soundtrack for the game. Because I do think you need, like, a bit of... granted, they're all, like, completely different artists who are off doing their own thing. But I almost wonder if part of why Halo's soundtrack was so good was you had a bunch of really talented musical artists that were arguing in a room with each other, you know? You've got people like Michael Salvatore saying, no, Marty O'Donnell, we can't put that in a game. That's going to sound super pretentious. And then Marty saying, I hate you, and slamming the door and stuff. And you need a bit of like that argument. That's how you get like those really creative soundtracks. Some guy has the ridiculous, out of control ideas that couldn't possibly work. And then you have another guy who is able to bring those ideas down to an acceptable level and make them presentable. I believe Salvatore is still working on Destiny today and doing great work. He should get as much credit for his work on Halo. Yeah, some of Halo's best tracks, like A Walk in the Woods, was, from what I understand, mostly Salvatore. I do slightly prefer the Halo 3 version, which was more Marty O'Donnell. But... is it just me, or is the shooting in Infinite off? Like sometimes it feels hit scan and sometimes it feels projectile based. It's definitely not you. Aiming doesn't feel right in the flight. Neither does the shooting or the hit detection. There's lots of blood shots. Non-Halo related question here. What do you think about the Mario movie cast lined up? Oh man. We talked about this actually on the past stream. I am very excited for the Mario movie. A little bit disappointed that Chris Pratt will not literally be in a Mario costume with a fake mustache. That's kind of what I was hoping for. Charlie Day as Luigi was really funny. Seth Rogen, I was like, oh my god. It gave me, like, flashbacks to, like, when the Sonic movie, the live-action Sonic movie, and people were like, oh my god, this is gonna be a disaster. My only fear for the Mario movie is that it's good. Because if it's good, there won't be a lot of memes that can come from it, you know? I think I've said on a past stream that what really disappointed me about the Sonic movie is that they made Sonic look really good, and they redesigned him. I was like, but I wanted Monster Sonic. I wanted the worst version of the movie possible. I was so hyped for Monster Sonic. I was like, he's disgusting. It's perfect. Think of the memes. And then they were like, oh, they fixed him. Now he looks good. R asks, why can't they make a Halo movie or TV show? So there is a TV show currently being made. I think it's ultimately... So this is going to sound kind of weird. I think Halo is kind of like a hard movie. It's a hard series to make a movie about because of how deep a lot of the lore is and how gameplay focused it is. Like, remember when Activision unironically wanted to make a Call of Duty cinematic universe? And it's like, what? So with Halo, if I were to describe the plot of Halo Combat Evolved to you, a lot of it would be, like, Master Chief shoots at some people, then they explore, and then there's more shooting people, and then someone gets captured, so they have to go to that place to shoot people. Like... In most movies, there's only, like, a handful of action sequences, you know? And usually action sequences have to be very, like, they have to narratively matter, I guess. Like, with those Avengers movies, usually when they're, like, punching the bad guy at the end, there's also a lot of, like, you were my brother! I was! Punch! You know, there's, like, a lot of drama happening underneath all the punching of lasers and stuff. With Halo, you can't have a lot of that, because the villain has to be kind of detached from the Chief. Could you imagine, like, the Prophet of Truth? Like, if they were face-to-face, Chief would just, like, grab him and strangle him. Like... Hyper Super Meme says, imagine you forget Halo Legends. Well, Halo Legends is a great, like, anime that has a bunch of disconnected stuff. But getting a bunch of people into a movie theater and telling them, this is Sanghelios, and having them not, like, laugh their way out of the theater, you know? It's gonna be hard. Like, Halo's got a lot of, like, stupid stuff in it. That to us as Halo fans, we're like, yeah, that's cool. Like when you shoot the elite and the grunts go, wow, 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 and they start running around. But to general audiences, they may think, like, what is this? Like, this movie has no tone. That little creature just got shot in the face and, like, a happy birthday party happened, you know? And on top of the Covenant, like, okay, so in John Wick or something, it's just a bunch of guys with guns. Like, got it. But in Halo, you've got 3 different kind of bad guys. You've got the Jackal Elite Grunt, and then you've got also, like, Jackal Snipers and stuff. Are we going to have to feature them? What about the Brutes? What about the Engineer? Like, those were made for combat loops. Like, could you imagine if, like, you had to differentiate the importance of ranks between the different mooks? Think of, like, orcs and stuff in Lord of the Rings. You know, they all just look like a bunch of guys. You know that guy's the leader because he has a funnier hat on. Just for the sake of, like, simplicity and making it a little bit easier on the audience. Oh, that bot came back, didn't he? Star Wars works, says R. Star Wars works. It's also got stormtroopers that are all just guys in white armor. In fact, stormtroopers are almost kind of exactly what I'm talking about. Like, as cool as stuff like Death Troopers are, it's good that, like, you don't see... So picture, like, that iconic opening to A New Hope. Could you imagine how strange it would be if it wasn't just a bunch of stormtroopers and then Darth Vader? If it was, like, stormtroopers, but then engineers, and then death troopers, and you had all these different silhouettes and colors and stuff, as opposed to the simplicity of just a bunch of guys all wearing the same armor. That's the kind of stuff that, like, makes video game movies kind of hard, is that, like, the gameplay aspects of them, like, some characters are designed even for gameplay. So when you translate those to a movie, a lot of those gamey aspects really start to shine through. I do think Halo could work. Halo could work if... Now, also, you'd run into the issue of, like, people calling it just, like, a clone of Alien. Like, part of the reason that Halo can get away with ripping off, like, Alien and stuff was because, well, Halo's a very different medium. Like, those Alien influences are more like they complement what Halo does really well. In a movie, though, think of, like, that movie... What was that, like, Sony movie? With the little thing, and then it eats people, and then it gets a little bit bigger, where it was just a ripoff of Alien. But instead of a giant monster, it was like a little goo creature. Like... Could you imagine the opening of Halo Combat Evolved? Like, people would be comparing it. They'd be like, oh my god, it's a giant alien that looks like a xenomorph. There's Marines with assault rifles that fire really fast. There's metal hallways. We're on a ship. Like, people would basically say that Halo's ripping off Alien. Because, you know, divorced from the context of Halo being, like, a game that was inspired by Alien, it would kind of look like an Alien ripoff. And a Starship Troopers ripoff. It's just like, as Halo fans, we'd think it would be the coolest stuff, but general audiences might not get what's going on. They wouldn't get that these are, like, staples of the series, and they just complain. Because there's no nuance. Halo is a clone of Doom. I don't know if I'd agree there. I think Halo could be seen as taking some inspiration from Doom. Like the idea of, like, having a bunch of different types of enemies, all with their own distinct silhouettes and behaviors. But I think fundamentally, Halo flows very differently from Doom. It doesn't help, though, that Halo also has a green guy in a costume. Just like Doom. Though I'd say the Doom Slayer is kind of more of a Master Chief clone. Like, the Doom Marine. The Doom Marine was his own thing, and I think Chief was probably partially inspired by the Doom Marine. Then again, probably not. But the Doom Slayer, I would definitely say, like, if it weren't for the Master Chief, the concept of the Doom Slayer probably wouldn't exist. I remember thinking that that was, like, kind of funny. That it's like, man, that's interesting. That Doom existed, kind of reshaped the industry. Then Halo came and kind of reshaped the industry. And then the Doom reboot happened, which was influenced by Halo, kind of. Because something that doesn't translate too well, I think, in, like, classic Doom is the intention was never that you're awesome in Doom. You were supposed to be a guy surviving. And for technical reasons, it wasn't, you know... they weren't able to portray that because there was only a very limited amount of ways that you could interact with your environment. You could shoot at things, switch weapons, or interact. And the Doom Slayer is kind of like very... I feel almost like Halo 3, man, Freudian slip. Doom 3's Doom Marine is a lot closer to what they intended with that original game. And Doom almost kind of took on this life of its own that was divorced from what the developers intended. And it's kind of been perceived as this game where you're awesome and you kill a bunch of things. There are some games like Team Fortress 2, Assassin's Creed, or Borderlands which are very cinema compatible. I feel like Borderlands probably, especially, because Borderlands I don't think is, like Borderlands in general, like if you've ever read up like the development of Borderlands, it was always just this like bland, who cares, like Gearbox has no ideas. It was just this, like, bland thing, and then somebody threw, like, that color filter on it, and it's like, oh my god, finally our game has something original in it. And I feel like if that Borderlands movie, it's just gonna be, like, a Mad Max clone. Like, I can't imagine it being good. And, you know, God forbid the fact that, like, Borderlands humor isn't that great. It's not that funny. I feel like I think I'm gonna avoid the Borderlands movie. It's just like, I want to avoid that headache. I'm not a big fan of Borderlands or Randy Pitchford. Hey, the webcam bot thing is back. Still can't get over how lame the explosions look. Yeah, something's off about the explosions. Here, let's delete that. Hey, Rebecca. Rebecca is here to save the day. She saved us from the bots. Oh boy. That was a pretty nice kill with that heat wave, don't you think? Jesus, can't you ban that bot already? Is there a way to ban the bot? Because when I click over the bot, I can't just ban him. It's like, I can either time him out. Or nothing. Oh boy, here we go. Here, let's go up this way. We're gonna go hide over here. What is kind of funny is, I do think, so if you wanted to do a Halo movie, I do think that there is a good way to do it, that could actually obfuscate some of, like, the weirder aspects of the Halo universe. So, okay, Master Chief is an incredibly aggressively boring hero, and that works for a video game. But for a compelling drama, I don't think Chief is strong enough to hold a movie up on his own. You need people to work off of the Chief. So before Halo Infinite, I had an idea for how you could do a Halo movie well, which is the Master Chief, have it be a soft retelling of the video game, of Halo Combat Evolved. Like, you don't need to worry about canon or telling the game exactly as it is, because, you know, this is a movie, this isn't a game. You need to have a little bit of freedom. Like, certain events need to be told in a different way so that they can fit the strength of the medium they're in. But have Chief and a Marine crash land on the ring, and they both have to work together. Chief is, like, boring and stoic, and then you got this Marine who's panicking and freaking out and stuff, and he just wants to go home. And they together have to stop the whatever who cares, you know? And then Halo Infinite was announced, and I was like, they stole my idea. Star Platinum says he is not boring. I say that hyperbolically. Obviously, Chief has a lot going on under the hood, but if you were trying to convince somebody who wasn't already a Halo fan that the Chief was a cool character, I don't think you could. I think they'd just, like, they'd be bored by him, you know? Like, the guy in a green stormtrooper costume. Like, what makes him special? And we're trying to explain, no, he's like that super soldier, blah, 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 like, and that's because we've spent days of our lives playing the Halo campaigns, back to back to back, shooting like, we've built memories with him. You know, we have an attachment to the Chief that's shared via our gameplay experiences and the memories we formed. The problem with, like, a general audience person is they're just going to see a guy in a stormtrooper costume that's painted green. They don't have those memories that we have of the Chief. It's kind of like trying to hype up your best friend to somebody who doesn't seem to care. Like, they just want to go watch the Avengers, and it's like, no, listen, Dave, oh man, Dave, like, we go way back. Dave is so cool, and he's like, you know, and they don't care. Like, they don't have the memories of Dave that you have. And I think Chief stoicism, though, could be weaponized to great effect if you had somebody who's a little bit more, like, I guess, emotive, that you could get somebody who is, like, very, you know, kind of, like, raw, emotional, and that, then, you could have a lot of comedy value come from Chief. Here we go. Oh, boy. I think audiences would want to see badass one-liner Chief and then sensitive Halo 4 Chief in the same movie. Yeah. Well, and what's nice is, okay, so, like, we've got the 3-act structure, right? If we're making a movie, you can have both of those. Like, Master Chief is a one-line cracker. He, like, doesn't, you know, he cracks them one-liners, and that's kind of all he's good for. But then you could have, like, okay, we're at the end of the second act, our heroes are at their lowest point. You've got your little Marine buddy who's like, meh, like, I'm sad for X reason. I hate you, Master Chief. And Master Chief, like, I can accomplish the mission alone. Like, and they part ways, and then whatever. Like, they come back together, they're best friends forever. And then you could have a bit of, like, those more emotional moments with the Chief, where, like, the shell comes down a little bit, you know, and you get a peek into his inner humanity. Sergey Mosen says, Destiny looks good. The Witch Queen? Yeah. The Witch Queen looks really good. Damn it. Okay. Chief is at his best when he's working with a partner like Cortana. Well, a problem with Cortana is that she's not a physical thing. I mean, she is. She's, you know, a little computer. But, like, Cortana can't interact with the environment. For all intents and purposes, Cortana is a voice on the radio. And that... the guy in the green stormtrooper armor and the voice on the radio... those aren't strong enough, I think, to hold a movie on their own. Unless you are a good writer. And I mean inhumanly good. Let's capture this flag. And I don't think the solution is give Master Chief Blue Team, because I think they have the same problem. It's Master Chief and then 3 Master Chief clones. Like, Blue Team works really well in the book, but it's still just like four stormtroopers, basically. You need somebody human alongside the Chief. Neon Newt says, have you ever played Outer Wilds? Worth a try if discovering and learning about the worlds is your thing. Love your videos. So I actually watched my brother play Outer Wilds, and it was actually a lot of fun. Outer Wilds is a game that, unfortunately, I know, you know, I know what's going on with that game. So I don't think the act of exploring is going to help me since I know what happens. And I know why the thing that happens is happening. And I think it's all really cool, and I wish I was able to experience it properly for myself, but... yeah, Outer Wilds is really cool. Don't look up spoilers if you're interested. Whoa. That was cool. Man, Halo is just a cool world. I actually think where Halo works best, actually, is if we want to talk about Halo Legends again. Shikai Wang, Bungie's artist on the first Halo game, and I think he's still at Bungie. His concept art was very anime-like. It had those, like, exaggerated proportions and stuff, those, like, really defined curves and silhouettes on characters. I think Halo works better in anime form than it would live action, because I do think you need a bit of that, like, exaggeration. And what's nice about anime is it's very good at having action be very dramatic, you know? Because, like, you've got your characters, like, I think of, like, My Hero Academia, which is such an excellent fusion of drama and action sequences. Halo Legends, I don't think worked just because it was Halo. I think it worked because it was Halo and it was anime. And it was good Halo anime. Oh god, we got the bots back. Ugh. There we go, we got the bots. No! I feel like the Needler's a little bit slower in this build. Not that I'm complaining. I actually like the Needler, the projectiles being a little bit slower. Opinion on JoJo? Oh, JoJo's fantastic. Oh yeah, guys, Rebecca is parallel working, so I'm streaming and talking to you guys. I'm doing my job. Rebecca is currently working behind the scenes too. Also, listen to that. That music. There is something just, like, astonishingly haunting about just that, like, ethereal kind of, like, vague, dreamlike choir and then the beam emitter shooting. Like, this is all so good. Do you remember Halo 4's soundtrack in its multiplayer maps? How it was like that really creepy, eerie, synthy drone that sounded almost like the start of a horror movie? And then Halo 5 had kind of like that bland, like, whatever. Like, the soundtrack in this game is so on point. Like, that just sent shivers up my spine, like, running through the alleyway, seeing the beam shoot into the sky and hearing the choir just reverbing through this canyon. It's, like, good stuff, man. The atmosphere for Halo Infinite's multiplayer is on point. Listen, and can you hear the guitar? It's really faint, and the guitar isn't actually playing a melody. It's just like it's playing a couple of notes from actually the monk chant, the main Halo monk chant. It's just like implying the Halo theme. Because the problem with like a video game multiplayer soundtrack is you're going to be replaying these matches over and over and over again. I have like, I can't remember how many thousands of matches on the MCC I have played, but if these were proper songs, you'd get very tired of hearing them over and over again. So with a multiplayer soundtrack, you have to imply music more than actually have music, because if it's too defined, players are going to think it's really repetitive. So just how like weird and eerie the multiplayer soundtrack in this game is, like just like that vague choir just doing its Halo thing, you know? It doesn't even need to do the main Halo theme. Just have that choir going, establishing an atmosphere. Noble Commando says, I think Halo needs a proper anime series. Yes. I think Halo would best translate into anime. Especially just because anime is so based around exaggeration, and Halo is a very exaggerated series. It's why some of those things I don't think would translate well into live action, like the grunts, the comedy, the slapstick comedy of the grunts. I think movie audiences would think it's, like, embarrassing, but us Halo fans, we eat that stuff up. And I think that slapstick comedy could be conveyed really well in, like, anime, where slapstick works really well. Hey, Late Night, can you do more mod reviews and more frequently? Also, are you excited for the Halo 3 mod tools? I can do more mod tools, and I will do them more frequently. The problem is there's a lot of Halo Infinite news going on right now. I actually planned that first mod video, to be a reoccurring series. I gotta come up with a name for it. Heisenberger says, 1/4 cup of firmly packed brown sugar. So this Heisenberger person here, over the course of many streams, I have gotten a donation per stream, and that donation comes with a very specific ingredient. I believe that Heisenberger is bit by bit providing the recipe for a cake. Or perhaps cookies. I'm very excited to see the rest of the ingredients. Heisenberger is like that person where whenever whenever he pops up, I'm like, oh boy, here we go, the next piece of the puzzle. Okay, guys, 1/4 cup of firmly packed brown sugar. Damonite says, I absolutely love Infinite's post-rockish tracks like the multiplayer overview video one. Yeah. Yeah, it's, Halo Infinite soundtrack, if you told me post-rock for multiplayer stuff, I'd be like, what? No, that's stupid. That's not Halo. It's pretty good. Let's go. It is pretty good, the multiplayer soundtrack. It does its job excellently. I can't imagine how much effort it must have taken from, like, the composers to kind of... Because you do have to balance, like, the multiplayer soundtrack. If it gets too loud, it risks, like... If it gets too loud, too goofy, too specific, or even too vague, like, you have to balance the soundtrack of the multiplayer. You can actually find some of the people responsible for Halo Infinite's multiplayer soundtrack on Twitter. One of them I actually DM'd, and I was like, hey, I just wanted you to know, like, really good work. I can't imagine how hard that must have been. And he said he really appreciated it. So if you can find them, let them know that they did good work. Because, you know, people are going to be praising, like, the monk chant and the main menu stuff, but, like, this atmospheric-y ambience stuff, a lot of work goes into that. Hey, Late Night, what's your opinion on the grenade hierarchy for the multiplayer combat rather than people actually firing their guns more than once? So, Halo combat, I don't think has to be just guns. You want to operate on that golden triangle, the kind of like melee grenade gun. And it's actually kind of what I thought was clever, even if the execution was a bit wonky, about Bungie's approach to the Halo 3 assault rifle, which is they wanted a gun that, by its function, encouraged you to engage with those three things. On its own, the assault rifle isn't going to get the kills. You have to combine it with aspects of the golden triangle, you know? Take down the shield's melee, take down the shield's nade, take down the player with the gun, like, etc. The grenade hierarchy problem right now, I'm trying to figure out what's causing it, because it feels different in this game compared to past Halos, right? I definitely think that the grenades could do with maybe a bit less lethality, but let's up the physics on them. Just a smidge, you know? So that we can knock things around a little bit more. But I also think that a lot of the grenade bonanza issue that we're running into, that's cool, by the way. Look at the camera on the That's kind of classy, having like a dash cam. Or not a dash cam, but you know what I'm talking about. I think part of the reason that the grenades are so just insane right now is the way that they bounce. So look at this. This is dirt. Like, this isn't like a polished metal floor. And that grenade is bouncing like it's a polished metal floor. If you remember in, like, Halo 3, if you tried to throw your grenade on dirt, it would just, like, catch on the dirt and it wouldn't bounce that much. Like, the grenade just seems to kind of, like, regardless of terrain context, bounce. Like it's a rubber ball. So I think the grenades are a little bit too bouncy. I think that there's also that issue of without friendly fire, there is literally no penalty to just throwing your grenades all over the place. In fact, it's really obnoxious in Halo Infinite. Probably, like, one of the most annoying instances... one of the most annoying, like, little combat moments to get myself kind of caught in is when I'm fighting a guy in a room, and his buddy sees that he's, like, currently engaging me, and so his buddy throws a grenade in to assist, and I just can't do anything. The grenade's gonna go off just fine, like, it's gonna kill me, and the buddy is gonna be completely unaffected. And there's literally no penalty to just throwing the grenade, you know? Just do it. Your buddy will be fine. Oh boy. Perfect. Let's run up this way. I'm gonna die. Yep. Okay. Hey, Late Night, what do you think about the multiplayer being free to play, leading to the possibility of more hackers and cheaters? Oh, believe me, I'm thinking about that. Here is my prediction for Halo Infinite. First month's gonna be good. Second month, we'll probably see a couple of hackers here and there. It'll get bad. It'll get really bad. And it'll take we'll say at the earliest 6 months for them to kind of get on top of the cheaters. But I'm thinking I'm anticipating Halo Infinite to have a bad cheater problem that probably won't be solved till, like, summer of next year, I want to say. Because that seems to be the case with all of these live service games, is they launch, there are issues, and then there is that big, yay guys, they did it, they fixed the game update around summer to fall. And I'm kind of waiting for that with Halo Infinite. In fact, I think they kind of, like, prematurely announced it with, like, the Forge tool will be delayed by 6 months. I'm like, got it. So Halo Infinite probably will be fun, guys, but I think we're going to be in for a rough half a year. Just prepare for it, okay? With Halo 5, it kind of took the Halo community by surprise. You know, because, like, even Halo 4, as, you know, kind of rough subjectively as that game was, it still was content complete mostly. And there was, like, a lot to do in the game, but Halo Infinite, or Halo 5, that was shocking. That was kind of like the first time a Halo game had ever had, like, that kind of anemic launch. Before then, like, Halos would kind of build off of each other. And so with Halo, like, basically, you know, Halo 5 already gave us that black eye. We're ready for it this time. You know, we'll be able to catch the fist when Halo Infinite tries to punch us. So just prepare, okay? We're going to be in for a rough couple months, I think, at launch. There we go. And as for the cheaters, I think I wish I had a little bit more faith. Halo Infinite has microtransactions, real-world microtransactions tied to it. So, like, where the MCC didn't, the MCC was essentially, like, you buy the game, and then all the content afterwards is completely free with no strings attached, which is kind of unusual for a live service game. But the lack of energy and enthusiasm around solving MCC's cheaters, it makes me a little bit like, you know, I'll believe it when I see it, basically, with Halo Infinite in regards to cheaters. I'm thoroughly unimpressed with how they handled the cheating problem for the MCC, so Halo Infinite has a lot to prove to me. I'd imagine they'll be a little bit more proactive, just because, you know, there's, like, microtransactions in this game. They have to make sure the cheaters are under control, but... It took Destiny 2 literally 4.5 years to combat the cheaters. Yeah, Destiny... Bungie's another one where apparently the new cheating solution is really good, but that was kind of silly how long it took Bungie to get their cheating problem under control. It was like borderline gross, I guess, in my opinion. Oh boy. Wait, there are cheaters in the MCC's Game of Steel? There were. It was a problem for a while. I haven't seen any, like, in a while. Granted, I don't touch, like, Invasion, because Invasion, every now and then you get the odd guy who's, like, flying around and shooting people. But MCC does have the occasional cheater here and there, and if you report them, they may get banned months later, you know? Which makes me think, I wonder if, like, the 343, if they do have some kind of, like, automatic system in place, it's not quite as aggressive, and there must be some aspect of it where they have to, like, manually go in and be like, yep, that guy was definitely cheating, ban him, you know? Matt Kahn is saying did some damage over and over again. Yeah, Matt Kahn, that did some damage line. It's quite silly. Cheating is such, like, an interesting problem because the cheating issue, you're never, like, guys, we did it. We ended cheating. That's never an issue. Or that's never, like, a reality. Because, it's an ever-growing battle between the developers and the cheaters. Because, oh boy, we got the bot back. Here we go. We got that bot. I saw that bot harassing the 343 live stream. So the problem with, like, the cheating issue is that it's kind of like this ever-growing battle, whereas one cheat is banned, new cheats are being developed, and new exploits are being discovered. And basically, it's like when you design a game like this that is PC, you're locked into an unwritten contract, which is your work will never end. Like, this is the start of many battles, you know? Because the cheaters, they're gonna come, and unless you stay on top of them, they're gonna ruin the game. And, it'll be interesting to see how 343 does it. Valve's got a pretty interesting solution with, like, Counter-Strike Go, where they're almost, like, developing an kind of like a machine. They're using machine learning to combat cheaters. And it's, from what I understand, pretty good, at least right now in 2021, because, you know, the battle is ever going, so who knows where Counter-Strike Go will end up 6 months from now in regards to how it handles cheaters. But 343, I think, basically needs to be, like, already laying down the building blocks for, like, guys, we're gonna be in this for the long haul. We need to... They can't have, like, a Bungie situation where they just kind of hung out for years and let their crucible just get completely ruined by cheaters. Brandon Prophet says, what happened to 15 years of Halo? Brandon Prophet, I wish you did not ask that, because now I have to talk about that. It's good that you did. So 15 Years of Halo was a series that I started, which is let's play every Halo campaign before the next Halo comes out in preparation. I think I got to the 3rd mission of Halo Combat Evolved before I just never did it again. And then I did, 17 years of Halo, and I think I gave up after Silent Cartographer. You know, the 2nd channel. Yes, that's where I could do it. Oh boy. The Only Serenity says, dude, CSGO has the worst anti-cheat of almost any game. It's been filled with cheaters for a decade. Well, of course it's been filled with cheaters. You know, Counter-Strike Go is a pretty old game, and it runs off the Source engine. But in terms of, like, I guess, perception from what I understand, like, there's this interesting GDC talk from Valve where they talked about, like, the anti-cheat solution that they're kind of, like, ever developing. And from what I understand, right now, Counter-Strike is in a pretty good place in regards to, like, anti-cheat. Granted, I don't play Counter-Strike all the time, so if you do, you probably know more than me. What made you give up? So the thing about people with ADHD is we tend to never really sit still for very long. And the reason behind that is people with ADHD, so normal people, like, you have, like, your dopamine rewards, you know, like, your brain is like, you did a good thing, here's a cookie, basically, and the cookie is a happy drug that your brain pumps to you. People with ADHD, their dopamine is a lot lower, I guess, from the way that I understand it. Like, and so it basically means that, like, that the reward center of your brain for doing things that you enjoy, it gets weaker a lot faster than normal people. It takes people with ADHD get bored of things that they enjoy a lot faster. And so I tend to kind of bounce around from subjects because it's like, all right, I really like X, and then a month and a half later, I'm like, I get no more dopamine out of this thing. Moving on to the next thing. So I tend to usually come up with a great idea, and then a month and a half later, I'm burnt out because, like, the brain is, like, all dried up. It's like, no more dopamine to shake from this thing. We gotta move on to our next thing. And something actually that's really, so if we're gonna, because Rebecca is here, and Rebecca's pretty awesome, and I want to heap praise on her because she's praiseworthy. So what's great about Rebecca is that she's able to combat that aspect of me, which is kind of like my worst personality flaw, I think, is that I do burn out on things and bounce from subject to subject. I don't sit still for very long, and it can lead to kind of like very inconsistent uploads, you know? And Rebecca is really good at keeping me focused. Even if she's like, listen, like, you're gonna be miserable, but do this, trust me, it's worth it. And she's always right, because it always is worth it. Ratchet 2505 says rational content would be rotational content would be perfect for you. Yeah, rotational content would be perfect for me. I've got to figure out how to do it, because that's also another thing. I'm not very good at planning. I can edit a mean video, but when it comes to planning things, oh no. Oh dear. I think I combined the word deer and boy into beer, so I just yelled out, "Oh, beer," in terror. Hey, the bot's back! Watch this. Fastest draw in the West. Damn it, Rebecca beat me to the bot timeout. Damn it. Okay. I was gonna be like, it's high noon, and I was gonna nuke that bot. Have you played around with the view model customization? I have, actually. And I've run into an issue with the view model customization. And this is... What the fuck did you say? Did you see that warthog rotate? That was so cool. There is an issue with this battle rifle. And I wish I brought it up in my animation video, which is the battle rifle is distractingly not pointing at the crosshair the way its view model is positioned. It's not aiming at the crosshair. It's aiming to the upper left versus the assault rifle, which is still aiming to the upper left but looks more convincing. So like, look at the assault rifle. And then look at the battle rifle. It's nudged a little bit to the right. I don't know why the battle rifle naturally rests to the right so much. So whatever I do view model-wise, customizing my rifles, they all look really good until I pick up the battle rifle. And whatever view model I think is comfortable, the battle rifle is always a little bit too off to the right for it. But then if I try to move the battle rifle till it looks comfortable, all the other guns are now too smudged to the left. Somebody at 343 put that battle rifle like that, and it drives me crazy. Wade says, how much of an influence do you think Halo 3 ODST will have on Infinite's open world design? That's an excellent question, actually. Maxim Drake is saying, bro, what are you talking about? Here we go. We're gonna speaking of ADHD things. Here, you know what? We'll grab this, but I need to find a battle rifle so I can demonstrate it to you. The game is done. Trust me, guys. The battle rifle is slightly off. Your Spartan holds it too much to the right of the screen. I don't know how else to put it. It just looks off. Commander rifle also aims lower. The battle rifle looks a bit like it's pointing to the left. Yeah, like it just looks weird. Your Spartan holds the battle rifle in this game very oddly. I noticed it in that trailer from a year ago where they had the battle rifle in gameplay for like 3 seconds, and immediately my ADHD brain was like, that battle rifle looks weird. Something's off about it. And I slowed down the footage and I obsessed over it. It was like borderline unhealthy, but I figured out what it is. So for every game, you can't literally have the gun pointed at the crosshair. Otherwise, that'll just look silly. You'll have like Doom weapons where they're perfectly centered. So it's kind of like this universal thing that once you notice it, it's very hard to unnotice it. There isn't a first-person shooter where your gun is facing the crosshair. They're always facing to the left of the crosshair. Now, artists and animators can be very good at not making that obvious, but then there's some games like Prey 2017, the pistol in that game. I think the view model animators did an atrocious job because it's distractingly facing to the left of the crosshair, that pistol. And the battle rifle in Halo Infinite, it's also distracting. You can clearly see that that Spartan is not facing his battle rifle at the crosshair. And I swear I'm not crazy. Give me a second, let me find a battle rifle and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you're saying that the stock of the battle rifle is more to the right of the shoulder instead of being near your chest like the other guns? Yes, Ratchet, exactly. He articulated it in ways that I can't because my brain is right now scrambled. Battle rifle. Okay. So let's reset view model positions. Restore to default. Look, the battle rifle. It's not pointing at the crosshair. And I mean, it can't because it's like a video game. You know, you don't want the weapon completely centered. But this is like, I can see that. The battle rifle is not doing a very good job of hiding the fact that it's facing way off to the left. And then you can look at the assault rifle. It's a little bit better, you know? But do you see the difference in them? For some reason, the battle rifle is held way off to the right versus the assault rifle, which is a little bit more centered. So no matter what I do with the view model customization, the battle rifle will always be just a little bit too far to the right. Now, what we can do is just, okay, horizontal. I'll move it all the way across the horizontal plane. Well, now look how silly the assault rifle looks. It looks paper thin. The battle rifle, though, okay, that looks pretty good. But paper thin assault rifle, is that a price I'm willing to pay for a good battle rifle view model position? I don't know. So you want me to keep going? I can keep going. If it sounds like I've been at this all afternoon, it's because I have. I have been scrambling to find a view model position that does not make the assault rifle look like a paper-thin toy, but also make the battle rifle just look like it's facing the crosshair. There's some people saying they can't see it, which I envy you. Good. Please don't go digging any deeper, or you'll see what I'm seeing, and it drives me crazy. Ratchet says, great, now I can't unsee this and I'm a gun nut. See, Ratchet sees what I'm talking about. I'm not crazy. I feel like my community, you guys are gonna like, I'm gonna be like I'm being like carried off, you know? I'm like, no, I'm not crazy. The battle rifle, its view model is off. I'm not crazy. You know, and I get dragged into like a hole. Okay, here. View model. Let's get the pistol. So something I liked doing with the pistol, it's bad. It's bad and looks bad, and I should feel bad for doing it, but it's a dumb bad idea, and I should feel dumb and bad for doing it, but look at this, guys. Oh, Rebecca had, let me see if I can scroll up and find her thing. Damn it, I missed it. Okay. But look at this. Look at this. I can see all of its animations. Oh boy. I can see all of its animations crystal clear. Look at that. You can see the way the Spartan slaps that new magazine into the thing. Like, it's just like this really readable view model. The problem is, look how much of the screen it takes up. That was another view model thing that I was fiddling with. I was like, what view models best give me a look at the gun and all of the very, very pretty animations that it has? But also don't look like this. Like, the Spartan is literally holding this pistol up to his forehead. Shrim says if the reticle was lower, like on console, then I don't think this would be an issue. That raised gun is triggering my LCD? Here, let's lower that pistol. We've had enough fun, right? Gekken says, just popped in because I've never seen you in a live stream before. I just wanted to say your videos are fantastic and inspirational. They invoke great thoughts and bring back nostalgic thoughts from the past. Thank you. Dude, I'm glad that you got that experience from my videos. That's something that I try really hard to do. What's really hard about nostalgia is it's such a personal thing. You know, how can you make someone else feel nostalgic for a thing that you're nostalgic about? So I put a lot of work into my videos to try to, like, convey that sense of nostalgia that I feel for something. And the fact that people can empathize and, like, kind of get that vibe from the videos. They're like, dude, this made me feel emotional. I'm like, hey, I did it. Because that's a hard thing to convey. Here, let's go this way. The Only Serenity says, your passion for this game is inspiring. I switched to PC about a decade ago, and I'm so excited to have a Halo game again. Yeah, man, a new Halo release on Steam, right? And it's cool as well, because, like, so there are some people that are, like, console warriors, which are kind of obnoxious. But as a Halo fan, what's really exciting about the PC release is, like, guys, our Halo family is going to get a lot bigger, because you're going to have people that play almost exclusively their games on PC, and they're like, Halo? No, that's that console game. Well, now they can play Halo, and they're going to get into it. And I'm really excited to see, like, the Halo subreddit and stuff get a lot bigger, seeing more people in the comments section. Because, like, it's like, imagine if Halo released on the PlayStation. You'd have an influx of new fans. Like, our community's about to get a lot bigger when Halo Infinite launches. And that makes me really excited. Oh, LSD. Did I say LCD? An LCD screen. Here, let's... No, nothing of value in here. I think a big problem with the loot cave is... So I actually like the loot cave. I don't think it's that well implemented, but I am happy that they did it, because fragmentation can basically be like, hey, that's the map with the loot cave, but it's just a little bit of personality for the map. I think the problem with the loot cave is Big Team Battle already has, like, an issue with its sandbox, which is the sandbox is being seen as rewards for the player instead of tools of engagement, like tactical tools of engagement. So, like, a Scorpion, instead of being a thing that you rally your team around and use tactically to make a push, it's a reward. It's an event, a thing that where you get in and you get a bunch of kills. And the loot cave kind of treats aspects of the sandbox the same way. I don't think that that makes for very healthy Halo design. It's kind of even like the whole like power weapon thing. I'm not sure if I entirely like when Halo categorizes certain things like that as power weapons. I mean, the rocket launcher is like one thing, but stuff like the sniper, on a map, a sniper could be like the dominating thing, the power weapon, you could say. But on other maps, the sniper could literally just be a tool of engagement. In fact, put multiple snipers on a map, you know? I think of like the pit, how each team on the pit in Halo 3, they had their own sniper, because there was that long sight line. And I think the loot cave, something that I worry a little bit is stuff like the gravity hammer, stuff like the sniper, overshield. Like, it's viewing those things as like rewards for the player and not like organic tools of engagement within the sandbox for you to use against the enemy team, if that makes sense. What maps would you like to see make a comeback in Halo Infinite? I wonder what maps could make a comeback, because what's really nice about Halo Infinite, I say this over and over again, but that emphasis on the gimmick of Halo Infinite is not core player abilities, it's stuff that's external from the player. Basically, like, the depth is attached to the sandbox, not the player. Which I think is good, which means more depth can be added via DLC. You know, they couldn't add Spartan abilities to Halo 5 post-launch. But that means that also that there's a lot of room for past maps to come back in Halo Infinite. And I feel like almost I'd want to see some like more symmetrical or asymmetrical maps. Like, I'd like to see High Ground come back, you know? Let's go. There you guys go. Sand Trap would be really cool. Blood Gulch would be interesting to return. I'd be curious as to how Blood Gulch would play. You'd almost have to, like... I feel like Blood Gulch could be cool if they spiritually brought it back. Like, have a Death Canyon or something like that, and it's a gigantic map, and Blood Gulch is a part of the map. Valhalla would work great with Infinite's gameplay. Yeah, it would. I agree. How does Halo, an arena shooter, have so much hype, and people ignoring other arena multiplayer shooters? So, Halo is not an arena shooter. I see people call Halo an arena shooter a lot, and this probably will make me just sound like a raving boomer, basically, but... So, what defines an arena shooter usually is, like, very, very fast movement, almost frictionless movement, with lots of, like, you know, skill jumping and stuff like that. I think of, like, your Quakes, your Unreal Tournaments and stuff. You've got a weapon wheel. Usually those games do not have reloading of any kind. And there's a very, very fast time to kill, very fast movement, power-ups and stuff like that. Halo takes inspiration from the arena shooter genre. But it's too different from the arena shooter genre for me to call it that. Like, already off the bat, Halo is a very slow-paced game compared to something like Quake. Halo has a 2-weapon limit. Halo has vehicle interactions and stuff. Like, Halo is very much its own beast, and it's kind of like a pity almost that Halo instantly began trying to do other things instead of really, like, settling, like, no, this weird thing that we've got, this Halo thing. What is this? Let's explore this further. You know, Bungie got attached to the idea of armor abilities, and then 343 went in the COD direction with aiming down the sights, sliding, mantling, and, like, you know, loadouts, Rex, whatever. Like, take that combat evolved idea of, like, the 2-weapon limit, the idea of you spawning with a main weapon, and then you got that secondary slot for a role-based weapon. Now, Combat Evolved I really like. It's my favorite sandbox in the series, but there's a lot of room for improvement from Combat Evolved. I don't think Halo ever really found its identity. I mean, aesthetically and musically, you know, that's a completely different story. We know what Halo is, but I think more so mechanically. Like, afterwards, Halo kind of started to deviate into other ideas and stuff. If you remember, with Halo 2, Bungie wanted a cover system, and, like, leaning and stuff, like, all this, like, weird stuff for Halo, and they couldn't implement it, basically, out of time. Like, some stuff they had tinkered with Sprint, but they ultimately cut that because of the way that it impacted, like, the pacing of some of their maps. That the gameplay that Halo 2 ended up with was almost more of, like a fallback, because some things just were not working. Oh, boy. And then Halo 3 got a little bit too bogged down with kind of like the issues of like the dual wielding system and how it made them balance certain aspects of their sandbox. And then with Halo Reach, they just gave up and did this armor ability thing. The closest Halo has ever been to an arena shooter was Halo 5. No, I don't agree there. Halo 5 is a little bit too twitch shootery. Your gun is not always up in Halo 5. In fact, in order to move at max speed, your gun must be down with sprinting and stuff, which is not very arena shootery. You've still got your, like, 2 weapon limit. An area where I think... Oh, it has to be combat evolved underneath. Which neither Bungie nor 343 seem to understand, somebody's saying. Yeah, but Halo has never been an arena shooter. It's had arena elements, but it was never a proper arena shooter. Like, the arena shooter genre isn't this vague, nebulous thing. Funny enough, people actually have similar arguments about the survival horror genre, where people will call something like Dead Space a survival horror game, and it's like, no, Dead Space is an action shooter with horror elements. Like, survival horror isn't this vague thing where it is a horror game in which you survive. There's a set of rules. Like, that genre exists. People have defined it. It's got a Wikipedia page with a list of what makes an, you know. And the arena shooter genre is very similar. It's very well defined. And things like Halo don't quite fit into the arena shooter genre. It's got elements of it, for sure, but it's not really an arena shooter. I'd call Halo a sandbox shooter. Hey, that is more fitting. Calling Halo a sandbox shooter. Whoa! But even then, like, Ubisoft has started to use that term to describe their open world games. It's just like, you know, what do you think is the best way to describe Halo? And in fact, that probably means even, like, what makes Halo Halo to you, you know? Because each Halo game plays so differently from the last one that Halo is kind of like, in its effort to kind of find its own identity, it's branched off into like all these different areas. Oh, the bot's back. What's another example of a sandbox shooter other than Splitgate? See, even Splitgate, I don't know if I'd classify it as the same as Halo. I'd say Splitgate, funnily enough, is closer to an arena shooter than Halo is. Even Splitgate, though, is not an arena shooter. Because Splitgate really isn't about its sandbox. The sandbox is certainly an aspect of it. But Splitgate is almost more of a Halo 5 type game, where it's more about inherent player abilities being the big part of the skill gap. And the weapons are more or less just balanced around their range. This is the gun that you use to get kills at this range. This is the one that you use to get kills at long range, you know, and so on. Oh boy. Woof. Battlefield gives me sandbox feels. Yeah, Battlefield But even Battlefield, I'd say... Okay, so this idea of sandbox, like sandbox shooter, like, okay, so let's stick with this, okay? Here's a problem with that, which is Battlefield. What makes... Can a sandbox shooter like Halo have loadouts? Or would that betray the core? So for Halo, the reason loadouts don't really work is because you want to start your player off bare bones and have them interact with the sandbox and map and find their empowerment, you know? With Battlefield, you have classes. So by default, part of the sandbox is now locked off from you. If you're a medic, you have to use medic guns and stuff. And you are spawning with your kit, and you are putting attachments on your kit. So like in Halo, you're not going to put a red dot sight on the assault rifle so that you can get kills with it at a range better. The assault rifle is a very specific role it fills. If you want a different role, find a different gun. You know, you're not going to modify weapons to fit the role that you want. Battlefield, on the other hand, is different. It is like that. You know, you modify your weapon into the gun that you want it to be. Get this guy. These are some interesting conversations we're having, by the way. Yeah, there's a lot of like fun niche. I feel almost like it's annoying that like the video game industry has kind of like settled on just broadly using certain terms like the action adventure genre, which is just obnoxious. Where it's like, what does that even mean, you know? There's this writer for Windows Central. His name is Jez Corden. And a few years ago... so he had for a while been calling the game Prey 2017 a campaign shooter. And it drove me crazy that he called it that. And finally, I just said... hey, so Prey 2017 isn't a campaign shooter, it's an immersive sim. And he was like, what are you talking about? There's nothing immersive about it. You turn into an alien. And I had to explain to him what the immersive sim genre was. And I linked him to the Wikipedia page. And it took him down his own rabbit hole, and now he's super interested in those kind of like niche genres, which is really cool. I love his articles about stuff like that. But it's like the industry is really bad at naming things, you know? How's the game so far? The game is definitely... So, I feel like there's aspects of the sandbox that are definitely missing. It's really hard for me to say right now, this Big Team Battle sucks, because I'm missing vehicles, you know? I haven't seen a Razorback. I haven't seen a Wraith. I haven't seen a Falcon. Like, there's a lot of vehicles right now that are, like, missing. And stuff like the Wraith we know exists, because we've seen gameplay. But and there's stuff like the Cinder Shot, which we've been able to use in, like, customs and stuff like that. But there's definitely aspects of the sandbox that are missing, just for the sake of, like, flighting the game. And so it's hard for me to say that this Big Team Battle is too shallow, but... Ugh. We're also playing on one map only, you know. Of course it's going to get boring. Why do most of your videos start with the SpongeBob song, Me For You? I really like it. 'Cause I really like that song, Me For You. I just really like that song. I like the SpongeBob... People sleep on the SpongeBob soundtrack. It's so good. I think it's funny how there's genres defined by single games, like Metroidvanias and Souls-likes. Yeah, it's, The video game industry is unusually bad at coming up with names for things. Here we go. Question, you gonna give Deathloop a go? I don't know, to be honest, because, so, if talking about immersive sims again, I really like Prey 2017. I really like the immersive sim genre. Deathloop. Oh, is the playtest over? Let's try going again. Oh, I guess we're searching. No, we can keep going. Deathloop doesn't really look like what I want out of a arcane game. Deathloop looks fine, it just doesn't, you know. I was just hoping for another immersive sim. Well, video games are very diverse and hybridized, so categorization is a nightmare. Yeah, that is a very good point. What device you playing on, bro? I am currently playing on the PC. Goodness, I'm thirsty. I think after this game, I'm gonna go get myself a drink, and then we can continue playing the same map. Do you think the campaign will be promising, as the previous games are pre-Halo 5? Oh, as the previous games were, pre-Halo 5. I think Halo Infinite's campaign will be fine. So, like, what we're playing right now, I've got a lot of thoughts about Halo Infinite's arena stuff and the big team battle stuff. That's one of my thoughts. I don't like that 343 wants a very harsh separation between 4v4 and big team battle. I kind of like having just Halo multiplayer unified under one thing. Big team battle is just a mode in Halo multiplayer. I don't like everything being kind of separated. But I think from a combat stance, what I'm thinking about is, all right, I can't, like, aim down my sights and hover in the air. I can't juke left and right with this thruster pack. Like, these environments are really wide open compared to Halo 5, so, like, clambering, clambering will have a lot of that, like, ignore the level design issue that it had in Halo 5, where it's like, for as beautiful as, like, San Helios was, I spent most of it just climbing up stuff. But the environments are so big that climbing ability, it's probably not going to do me much good in an empty field. And Lord knows I won't be able to just ignore the level design in an empty field, you know? Oh, boy. Okay. But... And then you got stuff like how some of the weapons are a little bit more, I guess, like, defined. So the plasma pistol, it's annoying that it can't EMP vehicles anymore, but I'm thinking from a campaign standpoint, like, okay, so that means the grunts won't be able to just EMP my vehicles, because 343 wants grunts to have the EMP ability, which is kind of annoying. But there's a lot of small sandbox things that I think about when I'm playing this game, and despite the issues I have, I'm also thinking about how, okay, I can see how this is actually going to benefit the campaign in a lot of really healthy ways. Can you say Zanghelios in the most attractive voice? Zanghelios. Like that? Here, let's grab this and this. Oh boy. I'm also starting to burn out just a smidge, because we have been playing the same map for like hours now. Oh boy. That was embarrassing. Did you see that? Let's run up this way. I have been enjoying the stream a ton, but I have to go. Good night. Good night, Star Platinum. Are you going to record your reactions to the Infinite campaign? Okay, so I'm of two minds about the Halo Infinite campaign. In fact, this is probably an excellent point for you guys to give me some feedback on this. I recorded my live reaction last year to the campaign demo, and it was awful because when I'm deep in something, like when I have to pay attention to something, I get quiet. When it's like something new, you know, I'm just quietly taking it all in and stuff. Like basically I've got 1,000 thoughts happening in my head, but the problem with live reactions and stuff is there's going to be a lot of stuff that I miss. And so I could do a campaign demo or campaign playthrough as like my first ever experience with Halo Infinite's campaign. But I'm worried that I'm going to miss a lot. But we're having a lot of fun right here, right? You know? And to be fair, playing this, there's a lot of stuff that I've never considered, just talking to you guys, you know? It provides that, like, that social atmosphere where you start to consider things in very different ways. So I'll pass it off to you. What would you guys have me do first? Would you rather me stream the campaign blind and then replay it by myself on my own time, or other way around? Have you played Behemoth or whatever it's called, or do you think of playing 4v4? You know what? We could hop away from Big Team Battle and do some 4v4. My honest opinion, if you free, give Deathloop a chance. Okay, you know what? I'll do that. All right. Because it is an Arcane game at the end of the day, and Arcane are very talented developers. So somebody had pitched Deathloop to me as the Prey DLC Moon Crash, but like realized into a proper game. How valid is that? Because I like Moon Crash quite a bit. So I would not mind giving Deathloop a try if it was like Moon Crash, but it's whole, you know, a whole video game basically. I probably also need to figure out a way to play it, because currently the PC version of Deathloop is like, no. And I don't own a PlayStation 5. Play on your own first, let your thoughts bake. That is Sivart, the Lore Master Farmer's thoughts. Yeah, it's very interesting. That's why I don't do those, like, you know, oh my god, with like the thumbnail, like with me, like, you know, screaming or crying, like at a, because like my reactions to things are usually, I'm very quiet because I'm taking it all in, and then I have to like rewatch it. I have to like watch it a few times for it to properly sink in, you know? Do you think the elites and brutes will get along due to their past beef? And my phone's gonna die, but I connected it. I love your vids. I wish you could play games with me, and I would pray best YouTuber. Wow, Redfire, that was a stream of nice that you just typed. I really appreciate that, man. I think that the brutes and the elites are gonna get along. Something that's kind of fun about the brutes and the elites is, like, obviously the Covenant was its own thing where, hey buddy, what's going on? Here, we're gonna leave that guy alone because he's probably typing or getting water or something. But the brutes and the elites, I think, have taken on almost more of like a rivalry than they have active hostility towards each other. The the Covenant Civil War was the Covenant, but like the species themselves, like they exist beyond the Covenant. The brutes, they have their own history and culture. Same with the elites and stuff. So I think when you've got stuff like the Banished, who are isolated from the Covenant, I don't think we're going to see them, like, actively warring with each other, basically. I think we're going to see them more of, like, just begrudgingly getting along. Sakura of Hoshido says, I've returned with another $5, so I must ask, will you feature other games on your channel? Let me try that again. My brain lagged. Will you try other games on your channel like you did with Destiny and Left 4 Dead? Yes. Yes. So, to talk about the wonderful Rebecca and her ability to kind of like ground me and focus me, and keep me on task. Those Left 4 Dead video, that Destiny video, that was not supposed to be a one-time thing. The idea was that, kind of like the Fallout 76 video that I did a while ago, that's quite outdated now because Fallout 76 is a very different game. I want to cover a multitude of games on my channel, and not in like a news type way, as in like a, oh, that's the late night gaming video on Resident Evil 4 or something, you know? It doesn't mean, like, obviously we're gonna do mainly Halo stuff, but every now and then you'll see, okay. A wahoo! Here, try to shoot through this! You know? Obviously we'll mostly do Halo stuff, but, every now and then you guys will see the odd video that is not related to Halo. The question is, for the sake of consistency, how often do I upload those? And how long should they be to be acceptable? Because then I'd also have to learn, basically, how to do those videos. Because what kind of sucks about making videos on games is there's a little bit of that imposter syndrome, where, yes, you are working. For real, you are working, but man, does it just feel like you blew the whole day playing games, you know? And sometimes that can also come with, like, its own list of, like, when you have to play a video game for a review and you're on a deadline, suddenly that 20-hour campaign isn't so fun, you know? Here, let's go over to Arena. In progress. There we go. Preview Big Team Battle. What? No, not Big Team Battle. We want to do Arena. Once a month and 20 minutes long, says Harry M. That's not a bad idea, actually. There's also the issue of, so, do you guys remember that Call of Duty Cold War video that I made? So that video, what's kind of interesting about it is if you go back and rewatch that video, it's essentially 3 late night gaming videos that have been, 3 20-minute late night gaming videos that have been brought together as 1 hour-long video. So the pacing never relents, and that's the way that I developed that video, was I treated it like 3 individual videos. A lot of people in the comments section were saying, like, I can't believe how well-paced and edited this thing is, considering how long it is, and that's kind of the way I treated it. And so, like, long videos require a lot of editing. The 20-minute video that I released yesterday, for example, that took me about 11-ish hours, I want to say, editing. So, I probably need to work on my pipeline then, my work pipeline, if that's what they call it. The Only Serenity says, do you think mouse and controller will be able to compete at a high level, or will I have to switch back to controller? That is going to be interesting, isn't it? Because mouse and controller players, they... what is going on here with this connecting to server? Do you see this? I almost don't trust it. Here, the bot is back. Different control inputs, they kind of like create their own little meta strategies and stuff. Controller players tend to strafe a lot more. I guess, well, keyboard and mouse players... Here, I've got like 1,000 thoughts going on right now, because that bot just popped in. Let me see if I can catch my... Let me see if I can regather my thoughts. Here, I think the game is bugged, so I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to relaunch the game. But I am starting to poop out a little bit. We'll do a couple of arena matches. Mouse and controller. Okay, so the thoughts about mouse and controller. So as an example, this is just a small bit of how a mouse is different from a controller. So in the Halo 3 campaign, there are fusion coils littered around, right? I'm talking about, like, campaign. Like, it's this all competitive esports strats in the campaign. In the campaign, you'll sometimes see Covenant huddled around fusion coils and, like, explosive barrels and stuff. With aim assist on a controller, it's very hard to shoot things in the environment that are not an enemy. And sometimes you're fighting against the aim assist just to shoot that explosive barrel. With a mouse and keyboard, you don't have aim assist. So I notice if I do play Halo on PC, I use environmental hazards like that a lot more. You know? Uh-oh. Are the servers down? Oh, wait, there we go. Late Night Gaming joined. Play. All right. I hope that that made sense, at least. Like, that little aspect of how aim assist can affect the way that you interact with the environment and stuff. Like, so imagine that, but in a competitive setting. Like, how that could impact, like, player behavior. So I almost don't even think it's about, like, which one's more powerful. I think it's more about what kind of gameplay strategies are encouraged by those input methods. Oh, Rebecca's going to bed. Yeah, we'll do an arena game or two, and then I think I'm going to get off. What's my opinion on Fortnite? Fortnite's fine. Fortnite's fine. You know, so many of my opinions about Fortnite are kind of clouded by how gross I think its monetization is, and how kind of predatory it is. It's very hard for me to kind of like separate my thoughts on Fortnite from just like those aspects of the game. Sakuro of Hoshido says, another 5 Deuterinos. In terms of content on another game, retrospections would work better, as then you can at least mitigate imposter syndrome. Oh, I don't think it's like a thing about like I've got to make the content that makes me the most comfortable. I do think it's ultimately like a thing that I have to get over, which is like, yes, we're going to play a video game all day, and trust me, this is work. I am not just goofing off. Because with Half-Life, I kind of felt like that playing through Half-Life. Oh, Rebecca's going to bed. Man, the frame rate is incredibly smooth right now compared to like Big Team Battle. This is kind of like astonishing. But as Digital Foundry pointed out, for some reason in Halo Infinite, some animations are not updated. Like, basically the animations update at a different frame rate from whatever you're running the game at. So you can be running the game at like 144 FPS, but your reload animation can be only doing like 120 FPS. There we go. And I, like, right there, I noticed that that clamber animation looked a little bit jerky. And so it kind of makes judging, like, the animation quality a little bit hard, because you don't know if, like, is the animation rough looking, or is it missing frames for some reason? I really hope that that's not the direction 343 is going with. If you remember with Halo 5, they implemented this kind of like just flat across the board system where, all right, anybody beyond like 10 feet of the player cut their animation frame rate like in half. And it looked awful. It looked super ugly. And Halo Infinite doesn't seem to be doing that very noticeably. And I really hope that this isn't like a new optimization thing that they're experimenting with. Well, let's go up this way. Time for me to go too. It's been a really tired day for me, but your live stream made it better. Greetings from Eduardo Campos. You're the best, dude. Greetings from Mexico. Dude, I hope that your day is going better. Well, I guess it is. He said that the stream was a highlight. Go to bed tonight. Watch some funny videos on your phone. You know, relax. Like, have some you time, all right? Refresh. And let's hope tomorrow's better, okay? Yeah, see, I'm starting to mentally check out now too. I'm usually pretty good at being able to talk while doing things, but now it's like it has to be one or the other. If I want to play well, I go completely silent. But then if I talk to you guys, like my gameplay just completely shits the bed. So I think I'm starting to get tired too. I might take after Rebecca. What are your thoughts on the direction in which Halo is going? Halo's going in this pretty interesting direction. And by interesting, I mean not that interesting. And that's what I actually like. So gameplay-wise, Halo Infinite is incredibly generic. Like, you got slide, you got clamber, like, you got sprint. It just plays like every other shooter on the market. But that lack of, like, interestingness, I think is a strength, actually, because the gameplay is so bland. It means that the external sandbox now has to pick up a lot of the slack, which, whether intentional or not, is kind of like a Halo-y design ethos. I think Halo Infinite could have legs. The developers need to be quick in making sure to keep the sandbox updated with new weapons, and they can't just be, like, the SMG. Like, there needs to be, like, some serious stuff. We need to have the shell-loading shotgun back. I think that's an important role to have in a Halo game. Hey, Sakuro of Hoshido is now a night owl, which is a member on the channel. Yeah, but ultimately, I'm feeling pretty good about Halo Infinite. It's got a lot of things that are rough around the edges, but the gameplay is... It's not one of them, you know? Any issue that I have right now, really, with Halo Infinite is kind of Sandbox related. And a Sandbox can be easily fixed with, like, updates. It's good stuff. Jack says, bring back the sticky detonator. Let's bring them all back. I make that joke... Hey, this is a good map to end the stream on. I make that joke about get rid of the saw belongs in the trash, like Halo can do better than the saw, but preferably I'd want to see every weapon from every Halo game eventually brought to Halo Infinite, and I don't want them touched. I don't want them balanced for Halo Infinite Arena. Like, I don't want them touched. If it's a weapon from Halo 5 like the saw, I want it to function like that Halo 5 saw, you know? Because I think if the game can get those original Sandbox items in, then Halo Infinite will have a lot more than just legs. It'll be able to replicate gameplay loops from past Halo games within, like, this game, basically, as a framework. Oh boy. Keep the hood facing them. Yep. There we go. All right, this is ours. Oh, I forgot we're not playing Big Team Battle anymore. We could turn on Jeff Steitzer. So the whole thing about Halo Infinite being the next Halo 3, you know, I see a lot of people requesting that. I don't think we'll ever get, like, you know, a game like Halo 3. But something about Halo 3 that I do think is that you can replicate is that sense of community and that sense of longevity. And in fact, that's a thing from Halo 3 that I think Reach excelled at expanding, which was the community aspect of it. Via the Forge tool, sharing, browser, and stuff like that. So, like, Halo 5, I think, got all of that down. The problem was, I don't think the sandbox and the aesthetic of the game was great, you know? Like, could you imagine, like, Halo 5's custom browser, and it's Forge mode, but in something a little bit more palatable, like Halo 3? Like, Halo Infinite, it may not be, like, the next Halo 3 in terms of, like, cultural impact, but in terms of just, like, pure community drivement and, like, engagement and stuff, I think that is achievable. The developers have to be smart, and they have to be fast, though. Because modern AAA developers are usually very segmented, you know? They're not really thinking about, like, other aspects of the game, because they're all, like, off in their own teams, kind of doing whatever. I think of kind of, like, the balancing change for the Gravity Hammer. So what I think of with the Gravity Hammer is, oh, well, it's awesome now at killing things in Arena. But what about Griffball? Well, that probably wasn't even considered, because that team was kind of isolated, you know, in the playtest labs, like playing, you know, Slayer and stuff, and they're like, oh, like get rid of the knockback on the player. That way it can be more stable, so it can be more of a competitive weapon. Without really considering how that might impact the other areas of the game. And so, in order to... Something about Halo 3 for, like, all the good and bad of that sandbox. I love Halo 3, but I do have issues with its sandbox. You do get the sense that Halo 3 was confident with just allowing some guns to just exist for some modes. The Gravity Hammer, that wasn't really a competitive weapon. That was designed for the campaign, and then, you know, Griffball was kind of born from it. I do think we need a little bit of that design philosophy back for Halo. Ugh. I've seen some people say that Infinite feels like Halo 2 more than anything, but since I can't play, I'll have to wait and see for myself when the game comes out. I don't know if I agree with the Halo 2 comparison. I'm trying to, like, think of the game that it reminds me the most of. It feels like... It feels almost kind of like this weird baby between Halo. If I had to think of a pacing for it, it feels like Halo 3 and Halo Reach. What the hell was that? Did you just see that? With just like a splash of Halo 5, which is some of the enhanced mobility stuff and the zoom function. Although I am pleased that, you know, the zoom function doesn't literally, like, make you tighten up your accuracy. Because I do think not every weapon needs a zoom function. I do think that's okay if some weapons exclusively have the ability to zoom and other ones just simply don't. This game really makes you feel like Halo. Yeah. Step into the shoes of Halo. It feels like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. What? I hope that's a joke. Oh, speaking of Modern Warfare 2019, I am super anxious about Halo Infinite's live service stuff, because this is a Halo-y looking Halo game, and 6 months from now there's going to be rainbow unicorns running around. What is going on? Where's the other team? Oh, they're over there. But if that's what keeps the game alive, so be it. Oh boy. It's honestly snippets of each Halo game, says Matt H. Yeah, It's very hard to place Halo Infinite because it doesn't really flow like any previous Halo game. It doesn't really flow like Halo 5, which is, you know, good, but I can't quite play. I mean, well, I guess it's Halo Infinite. I do hope, though, that it has a strong identity, because the fact that there are aspects of it, of each Halo game, I hope that it doesn't get to this point where, like, the game is almost unable to find its own voice. It's just kind of like, it's got a little bit of Halo 5, it's got a little bit of this, and it's the weakest aspects of all those different games, you know? Here, let's go up this way. See if we can catch that guy by surprise. Then let's disable that ghost. I'm liking the EMP shenanigans. Oh no. That was a good use of the knockback repulsor thing, whatever it's called. Come back, you! See someone below me. Yeah! Alright, that was a good conclusion to the game. Sorry, I was lost in focus. Oof. Alrighty, guys. I am... If that, like, huge stretch of silence said anything about how tired I am. Oof, that was fun, though. Alrighty, friendos. We will stream tomorrow. So there's a YouTuber named JoeCat who I'm going to be streaming with tomorrow, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I shall be seeing you, friendos, later. All right? Sakura of Hoshido, I want to thank you for joining the channel, becoming a night owl. And if any of you guys want to join, you are free to. And, yeah, got some Halo-y stuff. Oh, the Waypoint app. The Waypoint app is up, right? So inviting you to provide feedback on our new Waypoint. Is this, like, real? Is the what I mean is this, like, a weird beta thing for the Waypoint app, or is it officially up on iOS? Like, can I download it and use it? But, Sakura of Hoshido says, one last $5 to end the night. I appreciate it. All right, friends. I am about to pass out at my desk. I shall see you all later, okay? Good night, gamers.